Oh.
By
Jesus, we're
not
already getting
being
into-
integrated into the Twitch community ever, because I don't know.
Probably
I
a
can't
good
say I'm
thing.
not a loser because I am a loser, but maybe I just have a bit more adult responsibilities than some people.
I just don't know how I don't know. Like, it seems like all the Twitch streamers like have drama. It seems like I kind of escaped away without any like big drama shit happening.
True.
Good times. It's very difficult to do in these spaces.
Accurate.
You talking about? It's pretty easy to do.
Well, I mean, if you stay away from certain people, yeah, it's not really a problem. But as soon as you go into some bigger streamer streams, all of a sudden you're talking about things people do with dogs and other
Well, like I
random
was like
nonsense.
I was
That's all
attached.
that
I was
talk, right?
attached. No, don't get me wrong. I was attached to drama at certain points, but the
I'm still
drama was
goddamn.
never like with me. They like I was never the one being interrogated.
It's a good
Because
thing.
you're boring.
It's because I'm boring. Okay.
You're basic.
Wow. Y'all are
Oof.
rude. Fucking rude.
Well, this is amazing. This is the first time we've had everybody show up like exactly on time. I don't even know what to do with myself.
I was
Get on
about
with
to
the
show
show.
up like 45 minutes late, but you know, I decided not to.
What's good, Haas?
How do I do this?
Got some new blood in today. While we talk about some crazy stuff going on. I mean, there's so much crazy stuff. We're finding cocaine in the White House, and
You know,
All
Hunter's
kinda
not
wild.
Hunter
right.
Biden memes are gonna roll. I can't wait.
I mean,
Already
like, doesn't
happened.
cocaine
I'm
residue
gonna be
just
a-
stay around forever though? Like,
of course,
I'm gonna be 100. I'm gonna be 100
Yeah.
here. I like just
really Bill
saw these
Clinton's
topics,
cocaine.
so my takes will be coming out in real time.
I like it that way. This is gonna be good.
how do you pop out? What the fuck happened?
Is this supposed to be a you know,
Bottom right.
real one?
Pop out
Yeah,
button.
there's a real one. There's a real one.
Okay.
Especially, considering we got
Okay.
like 3 meme panels out of the way, like in no time.
I'm just asking. Okay,
Stop memeing.
just asking.
It's good to ask because even I don't know sometimes when I'm setting up a meme panel.
How do
One
you
second.
not?
Oh, because somebody will say, "Hey, set up the panel. These are the topics," and then tell everybody that they're inviting that it's a meme panel without telling me.
Oh, so that's weird. Jack usually doesn't do that.
Yeah, he did
They're all
it
meme
the
panels,
first one.
just sometimes they're also kind of serious.
That's what happened with our panel yesterday. It was supposed to be all memes, and it ended up getting like dead serious. So we started talking history.
Hey, what was it? The last panel I was on here for this show?
Yesterday,
No, yes. Oh, that's right. I did forget about
Uh-huh.
yesterday. Yeah. That was.
Leith, how do you
Yeah,
not know what's
it got ruined because we had way too many fucking people in here.
How do you not know it's a meme panel though?
Like yesterday was a meme panel, but no, last week like there was some real points there, but like I was just burning at the end of the fuse, and yeah, so that was fun. But anyway, let's roll some intros. Let's do it.
yeah, let's do it. So, welcome to the Minds of Ecclesia panel. I am your host, Lethy Water Kai. We're going to start off with some intros. Let's go straight to Cypher. Go ahead
Hey
and introduce
everybody.
yourself.
Thank you, Lee, for inviting me on this panel again. Appreciate it. If you don't know me, my name is Cypher. I stream under the moniker of Crowdsourced Politics. Do that typically every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, covering the news. We do debates, discussions, video essays, and like. So if you want to check me out, just check me up on YouTube and Twitch. Thank you.
And finally, we have Love Haas, who is currently developing film.
Developing film?
Oh, your
yeah,
room
no,
looks red.
It's always red in here. Hi. Yeah, I'm Chip, you call me Haas. I'm usually in your chat, and by your I mean everyone here, shit posting hard. So have a fun. It won't be too much of a meme, but everything has the potential for memes.
And we have the man, Osiris. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Osiris. There's no need to follow me. I don't do anything on the internet, but I like hanging out with these people because they seem to be good people and they might not kill me. But do follow them.
Appreciate that. And Sway Auto back with us again.
Yay. This is Soy Seattle. That's Seattle. Take out the C, added some soy. I stream once or twice a week about environment, and I'm slowly building back up my channel. You could check me out. 38 minutes ago exactly, I had a pre-recorded interview between one of my co-hosts, Gabe, and Phil Ord of Americans for Nuclear Energy. And this Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, I will be interviewing Andrew Revkin from the New York Times.
Excellent. Excellent. I'll have to check that out. And the man, the myth, the legend, Sprouticus. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Most people know me by now, I think, but I'm the Sprouticus. You can follow my Twitch if you want to. I don't know the last time I've gone live on it. Not live on it right now. But I am planning on doing like podcasts and stuff like that here in the future. So if you want that kind of stuff, it's gonna be about like medicinal masculinity, opposite of toxic masculinity. And gonna be working with that. But if you interested, go check it out. It's not out yet, so just go get it a follow, hit that notification bell, and when the notification bell goes off and you see something that you like, go check it out.
Doing the Lord's work, sir. And Tiberius, how you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. First week with the new medication. It's been quite interesting to see how it's been working out. Can't say 100% if it's all working out, but I at least feel a little better at the moment. So that's a positive. As far as that, I don't think anyone needs to have me introduced. I'm pretty much here every week. So it's always good to be here. It's one of my favorite shows.
We need a constant in this world. I mean, without it is chaos. So thank you for being that constant.
I fear for all of our safety when I am the constant. But anyway,
So
As well, you should.
Here's the thing: it's the yin and the yang, right? So Tiberius is the constant. I'm the chaos that gets invited to each panel.
Speaking of chaos, I
accept
tried
this.
that medicinal masculinity on a chick once. She said it tasted funny.
So typically you want to, wine and dine them before you just give them medicinal masculinity. Otherwise they think it's a little weird. I think they've called it a bunch of different names. I think one started with an R. I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention.
No. I am all about consent. Thank you very much.
Oh,
All right.
Wow,
We're gonna
It's
head
got
to the-
dark
saying.
quick.
All right, let's head to the first topic. Has the xenophobia in the U.S. and the fear-mongering about the southern border led to a heightened state of danger along the border? Is this something we can fix with the alarmist rhetoric coming from the GOP? Is this man's life the cost of free speech? A U.S. woman has been charged with murder after shooting an Uber driver she thought was kidnapping her, police say. According to police in the border city of El Paso, Texas, gotta love Texas, Phoebe Copus believed she was being taken into Mexico. She then shot driver Daniel Piedra Garcia, the authorities said in the statement. The 52-year-old died in the hospital after several days on life support. As she was in the car, Copus saw traffic signs that read Juarez, Mexico, according to police documents. The two cities lie side by side on either side of the U.S.-Mexico border. Police documents further explain that after thinking she was being kidnapped, Copus pulled a gun from her handbag and shot the driver in the head. The car then hit barriers before coming to a stop. So, is the rhetoric that people are hearing scaring people in regards to going near the southern border that they may be trafficked or anything like that? Is this alarmist, or are we just blowing this out of proportion? So go ahead and start with Cypher.
Yeah, I think rhetoric, especially rhetoric, if it basically captures people's imaginations or gets really sticky. So if it's just like one or two people saying something, it's not really going to do much. But when you give a bunch of people saying it and then that just cascades and snowballs, that's when when you really need to worry. And there's a instance of where it becomes one from the other, and so that's a little hard to tease out. But generally speaking, that's where I take a stand on it when something becomes a bit more problematic. And specifically with the border, I think we're seeing a bit problematic language coming both from the right and the left. A little bit of that being from the left being the fact that they're really kind of not ignoring it, but not giving it enough weight, in my opinion. And that causes problems for a generalized overreaction from the right, because if the left is going to completely ignore any kind of border issue whatsoever, then they're going to end up just becoming more and more radicalized in their rhetoric to try to get people on their side of it. But with that said, there's always a impetus of where this starts. And for me, it started with right-wing people, basically not policing, being overly concerned about what's happening on the border. So yeah, I think some of that plays into this, especially with the recent. Besides this case, there was the other case where that woman was there, or at least the media reported it. She was there for across the border. She was already in. I think she was in. Was it Juarez? I don't remember where it was at, but she ended up getting killed in an ambush. Her and her boyfriend. Turned out that might have been like what some people thought was like a deal gone bad or something. I don't know what came of that, but I think that all kind of plays into this. And if we don't like give people the facts of the matter, then you're going to just see this kind of thing just continue to happen, especially with the prevalence of guns. Just everybody in Texas having a gun at all times everywhere.
Excellent. And Chip?
I'm not super interested in the first question. It seems almost tautological to me. If you're going to talk more and more about how there's a crisis or something like that, whatever type of language you might use, you're going to draw attention to it. People are going to become paranoid about it. What I find more interesting is, and I think this is on the same topic, right? I think you read it right at the end there, which is this man's life the cost for free speech? Because I think we can all agree that we're probably, well, maybe we won't all agree, but I think it's pretty common sense to say, well, just common sense. We are raising the risk that we're going to be afraid of something if we talk about it in a scary manner. And I'll mention, in theme with my lighting here, the satanic panic. We know that people can have their imaginations captured and moved in a very scary manner. Me, what if I thought I was part of the Satanists movement? It'd make you feel different. So the real question then, I think, is, do we try to shut that down? Do we try to shut down that rhetoric? Even if it won't fix the problem, even if it's making it worse, I think that's kind of the interesting question that we'll probably get into here, but that remains to be seen. That's what I got.
Excellent. Osiris?
Let's see. Is this man's life the cost of free speech? Like many things, it's not an either or thing. It's I would die on the hill that we should protect free speech with everything that we have. But the rhetoric isn't probably the problem. The rhetoric is probably some other problems that are going on that are not being addressed. Again, we could talk about the failure of Congress and all kinds of things that are going on on Capitol Hill. But there is actual danger at the border. And like Cypher said, there are things going on at the border. So there's reasonable fear to be had. But I don't know the intentions of this woman. I don't know what she was thinking or what her experiences are. But I would support people's bad rhetoric. I think we should change that rhetoric, but I would support their bad rhetoric in the name of free speech.
All right, Seattle.
Yeah, I'm going to go one more for free speech. Don't care how bad your rhetoric is. Nothing's going to justify the use of deadly force in this situation. And also, we can't really excuse the censorship of speech, no matter how abhorrent it is. You know, we've seen people fear-mongering about our fellow Americans since the turn of the previous century, and it's never going to end. The number one thing is that we got to get guns under control somehow. We need to have a higher standard of training at minimum. You know, we can go beyond that. I don't want to grab guns. I'm a bit of an anarchist, so I think that, yes, communities have the right to defend themselves, but that's not what's happening here. This is really disgusting. We had like an Uber Karen murder a dude because she felt unsafe, and this is just more Florida man stand your ground bullshit that got a dude killed.
All right. Spartacus.
Yeah, I was just doing some fact checking. Sorry. Just out of curiosity, I wanted to know if she was a concealed carry permit holder or not. She's from Kentucky. She is in Texas. Both of those states are constitutional carry. The news article mentions nothing of concealed carry permit, so I'm going to assume she's not a concealed carry permit holder. Even though my state is a constitutional carry, I am still a concealed carry permit holder because I believe it is worth it to have the permit. With that being stated, this is just terrible gun safety or anything safety or self-defense, and this is awful. The Uber driver probably had maps on because I drove Uber, and when you have the Uber app open, it gives you directions immediately on the phone, and usually the passenger can see the phone as well because you're using the maps to get to where you're going. And so if the driver is staying on that blue line, then they're not going off course. And but if that blue line keeps changing and you start seeing Juarez or whatever Mexico or whatever city it is Mexico, and like the blue line keeps changing, it keeps telling it to turn left, and there's no indication of him trying to turn left, then yeah, you've got reason to believe you're being kidnapped. Here I'd say there's no reason to believe you're being kidnapped. This is just literally someone freaking the fuck out and then decided they're going to use their gun to protect themselves from going to a destination that they paid to go to. But yeah, this is asinine. And yeah, I don't feel bad for this woman at all for being charged. She should be convicted as well.
We will see. Tiberius.
Okay, I'm going to swing a little bit here. First and foremost, whoever wrote the prompt is a biased hack, okay? When it comes out to it, is this one of these things that I continually see that the media does, whether it's right wing or left wing, where it is like the most crazy one-off thing that you can think about, right? That you can actually cite as an example, and then try to make a discourse around that. It's like, oh, the gays are coming for our kids because a few people over here said it, but the vast majority of gays don't give a fuck about your kids. Is that one of those situations? And more likely than not, I'm going to bet it is, right? So the entire conversation that's trying to be spun out of this is bullshit. Second part is that when it comes to what is being said about the border, when it comes to what is being said about security, both sides of the aisle right now has a stick up their ass, and they need to change that. Republicans are going to have to deal with the fact that we have immigration to such a degree, just seeking asylum, that we're seeing cases in Omaha, Nebraska for asylum seekers that won't have their first hearing until 2027. Forget that. Like, what is LA looking at right now? What is Houston, Texas looking at right now? I'm hearing they're not having their hearings until 2032. That is how backed up the system is. That's how many humans are trying to cross the border, because when you say you're the greatest country on earth, people want to show up. On the other side of this, though, is that we do have a serious problem at the border when it comes to security. We had, for the last 2 years, 2 million people each year come across the border and try to immigrate in the United States in one facet or another. Yes, it is that high. On top of that, the fentanyl conversation is very, very real. It's now killed twice as many people per year as automobiles do. And the Democrats are going to have to own, to some degree, that you have a massive problem when it comes to security at the border, and they need to get on that. So please, everyone stop being idiots, and let's actually have some rational conversation. Thank you very much. Let's have fun.
And you were right about that partisan hack thing. You were dead right. I appreciate you for that. Go ahead and open it up to the panel. Have at it.
This is, this just keeps getting worse. The idea that this person thought they were being kidnapped is absolutely asinine. I can tell you, if I thought I was being kidnapped, I shot somebody who I thought was kidnapping me, of course I would call 911 and I'd discuss it with 911. What I would not be doing is taking a picture of the dead driver and sending it to my boyfriend. Like, I'm sorry, but that's not gonna fucking happen. I'm gonna be so fucking, like, my adrenaline levels are gonna be so fucking high. I'm probably gonna forget that I have a wife, right? Like, it's gonna be that high and that focused, that hyper focused on the situation, that I'm gonna forget anything else exists. So the fact that she took a picture of the dead driver and sent it to her boyfriend is absolutely asinine.
Sounds like main character
Biggs,
syndrome.
can you really say I cheated on you if I did it right after I shot someone?
No, she's the main character in her own little, like, Tom Clancy fucking spy novel. Like, I just escaped. I escaped
What
the
that
terrible
text look like? What that text look like? Hey, just killed the kidnapper. Click. Here's a picture of him. What the fuck?
I agree with you mostly.
This is the true problem. We're live blogging everything. Like, everybody wants to know about it. Like, no, you can eat a meal without
it would
showing
be
your
more,
friends, and you can kill somebody without taking pictures of it. I don't know what's going on.
Honestly, it would be more understandable if she posted it on Twitter, right? If she took a picture of the dead kidnapper and posted it on Twitter saying, "Just got kidnapped, I protected myself and posted a picture of like the dead would be kidnapper, that would be more. No, extremely cringe. But given society, more understandable than sending it to your boyfriend.
How is that more I don't understand how that would be more understandable though. Because if I go to my significant,
because people today are such dumb fucks, and they're so worried about their social media image that I would be assuming she's a dumb fuck who has no intelligence whatsoever, who decided that it'd look cool because she defended herself from a kidnapper, and it would be a great Twitter post and it'll get a lot of likes. That would be my assumption. You posted on Twitter. None of that is the case if you send it to your boyfriend.
Look, I think we can all agree this woman is cringe. She's probably going to get convicted, buried under the jail, and raped by Mexican women. But
wow,
forget that last part. I don't know. Forget that last part. Let's move on. No. So I think I think we should encapsulate the conversation and go back to the rhetoric problem, or maybe what Tiberius was talking about, because I think we all agree this woman's cringe. She has no chance.
I don't think anybody here. Yeah, I agree with Cyrus. I don't think any of us disagree that she did wrong.
So I suppose Tiberius has maybe shifted the question from, is this man's life the cost of free speech, to, I'd ask Tiberius to phrase it, are the thousands of lives or hundreds of thousands or whatever it would be of people who die to fentanyl because of an unsecured border, are they the cost of what exactly? I'd like to ask you, Ty.
Well, so like this is why I really had a problem with like the originator of the conversation, right? Is that like it's framed as like, hey, is this person's life worth free speech? That's not it for me. This is not the issue, right? And I'll get back to what you brought up, because that isn't really the issue for me here either. What it is that, okay, if somebody says, hey, look, we have a problem, right? What is the speech conveying? And the speech is conveying either one, hey, we have a shitload of people trying to get in this country who are wanting to participate and be part of our system. And, we need to have a conversation about who gets let in, how they get let in, and how often, versus the conversation of, hey, we have human trafficking across our border on top of narcotics trafficking that is killing about 70,000 people, right? Both of these are very important issues. Both of these things we should be able to talk about. But when somebody goes, hey, you see this one-off example? Like, this must be fueled by racist demagogues. No, fuck off with this shit. I'm so tired of it. I really am.
If I could, this is why I exactly asked you.
Yeah.
This is why I was trying to draw out what the point you're saying is. What is the cost of what are we setting against each other? Whether it's like this man's life and free speech, and then if you're saying, well, actually, let's talk about fentanyl or human trafficking across the border.
The cost.
I'm trying to.
We can't. I'll give you some calculus. Yeah, I'll give you the weights. Right. On one hand, it's like, hey, look, can we have a border that is open enough to where we allow enough people to come across it in a secure and safe manner to where we can fill in the people that we need for immigration, and actually the people want to be here, at the same time maintaining a level of safety where we actually know who's coming across. We can actually filter out, if somebody's bringing drugs or someone's being X. Like there's a pro and a con here. Basically, the more people that we let in, or the more that we make the border, the more likely we are to have problems. On the other side of that, though, if you just kind of wall yourself off, you basically have to defend the border with the entire United States Army at machine gun point, which is ridiculous, right? So neither of these are great options in extremis. So where's that middle ground where we all can actually have a consensus? I think that's the conversation.
Invade Mexico.
Let's take the Connor solution.
Not the worst idea.
All the way down to the little land.
See,
bridge.
I'm kind of with Tiberius. Go ahead. I'm kind of with Tiberius on this. I don't think that you can pin this guy's life against like free speech. I don't think that's. I think that's a zero-sum game, and it's just going to lead to talking points and like I gotchas. And then when people actually look into it, they're going to realize that this is a bunch of bullshit. But you can't even do like the free speech versus like fentanyl, because the free speech is important, because if you take away if you start taking away from free speech, you've lost the entirety of the freedom of speech. Once we allow the government to go, oh, you can't say this and we're going to take this away from your freedom of speech, you have lost the freedom of speech, because they're saying that what you're saying is too offensive to be free speech. But I offer a quote in rebuttal to that. And from Larry Flint, he was a co-founder of I forget which fucking magazine it was.
Hustler.
Hustler. He was a co-founder of Hustler.
Magazine,
Basically there was a whole bunch of free speech arguments with his magazine, basically saying that this is too graphic, et cetera, and so on. That it shouldn't be allowed. He is quoted saying, "No one understands that the First Amendment is only important if you're going to offend somebody. If you're not going to offend somebody, you don't need the protection of the First Amendment. So the First Amendment only protects offensive speech."
Oh, hold on just a second. Sprout, I love you, but like this shouldn't even be a speech conversation. Like that was kind of the original point that I was getting. Like that is feeding.
Okay, I tried to make the conversation about the person and how dumb the person was. No one would talk about how dumb the person was. We all agreed how dumb the person was. I moved it to freedom of speech, which is the other half of the conversation. And now you're like, no one wants to talk about freedom of speech. Do we want to change the topic?
No, it's not that we can't. No, I did. Like straight up, I did. Okay, and that's why. Like I'll just make this outline really clear. It's like we could talk about free speech, but the problem is in this context, right? Unless someone can prove me otherwise, this is simply one of those deals where it's a one-off case that is built into extremis that we're just going to base an entire political narrative around.
Well,
for me, it's
just one case though. We have people. We have the Minutemen patrol. We had the Minutemen patrolling the borders during Obama. We had various we had the governor of Texas deploy the National Guard in a fucked up manner. We had all sorts of other manner of shit going on because people were talking about how dangerous the border is. And so if we're going to talk about how dangerous the border is, and that's going to permeate through all of society, then sometimes what's going to end up happening is people are going to get freaked the fuck out because people are stupid and do something that is dumb.
Right.
Do you disagree with that?
I don't. And that's the kicker here, right? Like, again, this is a one-off, but what you brought in is not a active governor of one of the biggest states in the country mobilizes his own National Guard to patrol his own border. That's a fucking talking point. And not just a talking point, that's action, right? This is policy. I will happily talk about whether our demagoguery makes it to where that is an appropriate response or if that is bullshit and a complete overreaction. That's the conversation that we need to have.
Well, go ahead. Sorry, finish.
No, I'm sorry. I'm ranting a little bit, but I'm just saying, this is the kind of shit that just gets under my skin. And I'm sorry I'm ranting and raving, but I'll just put it this way. What Cypher brought up is the proper context for these conversations. When someone says, hey, the borders are open, drugs and people and criminals are flowing in, and then all of a sudden the entire National Guard of a state is mobilized to stop said problem. Number one, is it people getting carried away with the narrative to say that the problem isn't nearly as bad as what it is? Right? And then also, is that a warranted response to some of the shit that we're seeing? Right? He's cracking up. I want him to go.
Well, I was gonna have Soy.
I put up 7 fingers, so I'm curious what you were counting.
Go ahead, Soy.
I was gonna say I think it's two conversations. You can't restrain it to only a security conversation. We've got two issues at hand. Yes, there's a root cause, and that is fear. Fear is the root cause. The effect is, someone's dead, and the solutions are to eliminate that fear or minimize the harm. You're not going to eliminate fear. There's always going to be some batshit crazy with a gun. Oh, but wait, that gun, maybe that's a little bit of a problem. You shouldn't be able to be batshit and have a gun.
Opens it up into a different conversation entirely. And I would,
yeah, I was going to say, I don't know about that one.
Who was talking? I missed it.
That was fun.
I meant after that. Sorry.
You're good.
So I can address
responding.
I can address both what Soy said, and then I want to say something about what I said. I'm going to do that in reverse order. So I think it's interesting that you're saying this isn't a free, or maybe it shouldn't be responsibly a free speech conversation. There's other things we need to talk about. But then a big part of the question that was asked initially was about fear-mongering rhetoric. And now you're saying, well, let's not talk about this part. But the immediate thing that you use your free speech to do is, and you might not agree with this, but I would frame it, or it could be framed as, fear-mongering rhetoric. It could be framed that way because you're saying, oh, we have all these things flowing over the border. We have this, all these problems. You're doing the exact thing that you're saying we shouldn't talk about. So I think that could be interesting. And then to Soy, I wanted to say, has to do with the person being batshit and having the gun. Maybe I lost it. That's my bad. I promise not to get better with time.
I have one other thing. I just wanted to bring it
Go
kind
ahead.
of full circle
I'm
to the
not
point that I
blaming.
was going to try to make, and then everybody can ignore me. So to me, I don't see this as being much different than the slew of cases where we had people getting killed in the wrong person's driveway over the last few months. All right. We had 7 or 8 of those cases between March and May, and I think there was another 2 that happened in the last 2 months. So I that's the kind of stuff that I think is what we're seeing here. We're seeing just a general level of distrust being fomented in all of society, and I don't think this is necessarily just what happened here is necessarily just limited to what the border situation. I think this is a broader conversation that we could be having, but that's not the topic. I just wanted to point that out there, so everybody can ignore me now.
Right.
Just
trust.
go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay, so trust comes from knowing your neighbors, knowing, what the hell is going on. This lady didn't know what the fuck was the appropriate response for using the Uber app and not understanding where she's going. Like, she escalated so far, so fast. This is not a competent member of society. This is not a person you can build trust with. It's not a person that should be armed. And I'm sorry if I'm going to discriminate against the idiots out there. Idiots with a gun, kind of bad.
Wait.
We
So
should discriminate. We should discriminate against idiocracy.
So what's the idiot? Are you drawing up the idiot test? Because I'm curious how this is going to play out.
I don't know, but some level of competency is an issue here. It is an issue to have a society where you have devices that are instantaneously lethal, and that is our only protection when it comes to self-defense. We don't have a constitutional right to have a taser. We don't have a constitutional right to have pepper spray. I have to be ultra aware of exactly, if I use my pepper spray, I have to know that I'm facing some serious liability. Whereas if I had a gun, we'd have the NRA come to my defense and sing my praises for gunning someone down if I felt threatened.
I said the Second Amendment should cover those things. It does cover those things. If you
I'm pretty sure the Second Amendment does cover tasers.
I say that as a meme because
right that you wouldn't have the NRA come to your defense.
I say that as a meme because Karen probably is normal 90% of the time until she's triggered, right? Like, so I don't understand your line of thinking here.
Osiris, I am not a proponent. I am a proponent of the Second Amendment. I am a strong supporter of the Second Amendment. However, I'm not a proponent of constitutional carry. I think there needs to be some type of competency check, some type of ability check prior to being given authorization to carry. And that doesn't have to be done at the cost of the person that's applying. It can be done at the cost of the state. It can be absolutely free, but there has to be some type of check in order to regulate our militia.
I agree, but my question is, what does a competency check look like? That's not something I'm understanding.
You're given basic scenarios, and in those scenarios, you have to choose the right thing as to if it's a viable self-defense option or not a viable self-defense option.
I don't know if that would work.
So, okay, go.
We may not be able to directly lay out what the competency check would look like initially. But I would just ask for your judgment on what do you think about a concealed carry test that we already have? Do you think that they're sufficient, insufficient? Same thing for a driver's license, same thing for anything where you need licensure, right? So I'd say a lack of one versus one that we have is totally different. So I don't want to be told that I need to nail down the specifics to suggest that a test would be better than no test. I want to be very clear on that.
I mean, that's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
So I want to get everyone's opinion. Like, is a competency test reasonable, and can it be done with enough specificity that we're not really impinging on the First Amendment? If you disagree with that, like if you disagree with like a yes and a yes, like show me your hands. And
the First or the Second Amendment? Which one are we concerned about?
Can you have any competency test? Is it possible? And is it possible to have that without impinging on the Second Amendment?
No.
Can I give the reason why it is possible to have that, and it is possible to have it not infringing?
Show of hands?
Yes. If you're double no, hands up.
I don't know what double no means.
But no to both questions. No to both questions.
No, it's not possible to make a competency test, and no, it's not possible to do that without impinging on the Second Amendment.
Can we do show of hands for is it possible to make a competency test without impinging or infringing the Second Amendment?
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
Is it possible?
Yes.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes. Is
Can
the answer yes for this one?
Just let me answer this real quick, so I
I'm
don't.
not the
have-
only
I'm-
person
I'm
that.
gonna have a fucking aneurysm because I'm over 2A conversations on Twitch. I'm sorry, but like I've been around this road way too many times, so I'm gonna just reiterate what I've said so many goddamn times before. Number one, I do believe in what I call the spirit of the law. When it comes to the Constitution, is like, hey, there is an intent, but we need to like measure that intent into like a context that which we live, not what jackasses at the set point of 1776, or actually it'd be like what 1789 is when this is all put in the Constitution. Founding fathers were smart. They were great folks. Problem, they didn't get everything right? And so we need to look at this in our modern context. And I believe that having a regulated militia means that you can have your guns and you have a constitutional right to have your guns, but you need to prove some kind of competency regarding those. I think, just putting it straight out and simple, we should treat guns largely in the same way that we treat cars. And I'll end with that.
So I'm a no on both of those. And that's why I'm probably the only one that
I love
is.
it.
So here's why.
I like that
Okay.
Cypher and Osiris are sort of on the same point, right?
Okay, so the reason I'm no on the first one is because I don't trust anybody to make a competency test that will be done ethically. Sorry, just don't trust it. We have proven time and time again in this country that anytime we implement a test for rights, somebody gets power and uses that competency test as a weapon to strip people of rights. We have it throughout the entire history of the United States. Not here for it. Secondly, the reason I'm no on the second point isn't because I am pro Second Amendment. It's because the current way the Second Amendment is written and the current way it's being interpreted, especially by Clarence Thomas, is that is going to be a no because they want to give everybody guns all the time. That's why I'm no on both of those questions.
So
Okay.
it's not.
Unironically agree.
It's not. It's not gonna be. It's the. I don't think it'd have as much problems as the Supreme Court as you're saying it would. I think that the problem. I really don't, because I think that a competency test in which the law, and a competency test as in the basic safety of firearms. Like these are things that if you're carrying a firearm, you should know the law and you should know the basic safety regulations for firearms. That you never point a gun at something you're not intending to destroy or kill. So there's these basic concepts that can easily be put into a test. And with that, it's not going to be it's not going to infringe upon the Second Amendment. As a matter of fact, it's going to add in the regulation to that Second Amendment and to that militia. And so it's going to be easy. It's going to be easy to make. It's going to be easy to pass if you've looked into firearm safety and laws whatsoever. And on the second part, the laws are going to be state by state, right? How do you get your concealed carry permit? Through your state. So when you get your concealed carry permit through your state, they're going to go over their state's laws, right? Might it be different if you decide to go to Florida and Florida recognizes your concealed carry permit? Yeah, maybe you should look in Florida laws before you carry your gun into Florida. I don't know. Just a suggestion.
So Spraticus, I don't see that actually solving anything though. So I don't see why
You and me both. So
it's good.
Yeah, because the problem always is a state of mind in the situation. 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, I'm here for it though. I
So
want
you don't
people
see
to
it
be
solving
able to,
anything?
No, I just
I don't
don't
think
think that would solve the
I
particular
don't think I
issue.
could go further without addressing this. Cypher, when you say that any time that somebody introduces some sort of a competency test, are you just speaking about guns or just competency tests in general? Because
Competency test
are
for
you, like,
rights.
for rights. So
Yes.
do you think that you have the right to freely travel, as is like spelled out in like whatever thing that the sovereign citizens love to quote? Do you think that that's a thing that's infringed upon by a driver's test?
No, but I also that's not the kind of rights that I'm talking
That's
about
not
though. But I'm not a sovereign
citizen
citizen kind of thing.
Yeah, let's not do that anyway.
Cars
but
are not a right.
realistically,
Ban
it gets
cars, by the way.
True, ban cars.
Jesus.
But it gets difficult. It gets difficult when you say for rights. Because obviously, the Constitution states pretty explicitly, rights does, that all these things that aren't covered are either left up to states or individual people,
Sure.
right? So, aren't we infringing all the time on things that would be perceived rights under that?
Yeah.
Wouldn't a doctor being asked to pass a competency test sort of go at your
Sure,
argument?
and
Bridge
yes,
the gap for me.
and yes, but when I was listening to Sproticus and everybody else talk about competency tests, I was thinking way beyond this. I was more thinking about Seattle's IQ test thing rather than it being a or a mental deficiency, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I was thinking about in the past how we had competency tests for the right to vote, and that was played around with stuff like that.
It's a basic safety and law test.
And to that point, I don't think that actually solves any of the problems that we're actually trying to address, because while I do support that, I think that it would be good. I don't think it actually addresses the issue.
I think it does solve those problems. I think that if you're a concealed carry permit holder, you've been well informed of the law if you are a concealed carry permit holder, and there's not like an ignorance claim that a lot of people will have, because believe it or not, in constitutional carry states, people who carry a gun don't know fuck shit about the law. Okay,
yeah,
they'd be walking around with a gun. They'd be like, "Oh, I can shoot this person," and they're like, "Oh fuck, I can't. I guess I'm going to jail for murder now." Like, so do you the competency test would fix that, right?
Do you think that would fix this particular situation that started this question?
Yes. If I don't reasonably think I'm being kidnapped, I can't shoot the guy that I don't reasonably think is kidnapping me.
What is reasonable kidnap? What is reasonable though?
Reasonable would mean that the average person in that situation would believe that they are being kidnapped.
I can probably find 12 people that will not convict this woman.
Yeah, you can find a whole bunch of
Can I
people,
change
but
this up ever so slightly?
Yeah, go ahead.
So let's say there was no gun in this woman's possession. In her head, she has, I feel I'm getting too close to the border. She's hearing every news media source she's ever heard in her head telling her how dangerous.
Takes off her shoelace and chokes him out with it.
Exactly. She puts him in a rear naked from the back seat and just proceeds to.
She grabs the steering wheel and flips the car.
He dies. So, what is the true issue here? Like, is it the rhetoric that she's hearing that's making her unreasonably upset to take this action, or is it the action itself?
Lethe, did you secretly write this yourself and you're defending the bias?
Oh, I didn't write it. That was Jack.
It's the action itself. It's the action itself. It's not. It's the action itself. It's not the rhetoric. I live in Indiana, and people here are still scared of human trafficking, because human trafficking does come out of Indiana. There's human trafficking in just about every state. It's not just the border state that people are being trafficked out of. There's human trafficking out of just about every state. Correct. Now, with that being stated, it's not the rhetoric that human trafficking is happening, because human trafficking is happening, and the public should know that it's happening to be more aware and to be more cautious about what's going on. But it's the action that she took in regards to the unreasonable belief that she was being kidnapped, because she did not have reasonable belief she was being kidnapped. The average person would not believe in that situation they were being kidnapped.
Yeah, I'm not so sure.
They would understand there's
I don't
a
believe that
correct
either.
way to escalate. And maybe that's like with your CHL, you understand there's a correct way to escalate the situation, right?
I thought we were trying to switch the focus of the conversation away from this into the actual issue of whether it's a.
But if you're attacking someone, you have to have a reasonable reason why, right? So even if I punch somebody, right, in order to not get put away for assault or battery, right, I have to have a reasonable reason why I punched them.
But this is what I was trying to address before, and I wonder if Cypher would agree with me. Your test for whether or not you understand how to use a gun, how to do gun safety, all of the things that you get for a CCW, doesn't address what you're talking about now, which is that reasonable understanding of what a person would be expected to do. You'd have to have a reasonable understanding that you're being threatened. That level of competency is completely absent from the CCW course.
No, it's taught. It's taught. It's taught. It's just a matter of the fact that you can't teach. Wait. It's taught. It's just a matter of the fact that you can't teach reasonability to unreasonable people.
That's literally what I wasn't going to say it in those words, but yeah. That's
but a lot of people are reasonable until they're not. That's weird.
That is weird.
Yeah.
I'm switching you to the other side of this argument because of that. So, but
that would be called temporary insanity.
I want to hear for the people Osiris, Cypher, and Haas who are against this. You know, you can't make a unreasonable person reasonable through a test. how do you reconcile that with the fact that we have police?
So I'll just tell you, just really quickly here. I'm not on a side. Wait, no, I am on a side. I will take the side of trying to regulate it, even though I think it's gonna fucking fail. I'd rather watch the experiment happen.
Wait, what?
We watch the
Honestly,
experiment
though-
happen. We gather data. Like it's actually
Oh, I see, I
valuable
see.
to institute. a test that's
Honestly,
kinda
though,
shitty.
regulating this is going to keep people who don't know about the laws from not having firearms, or people who they don't know the basic firearm safety from not having having firearms, not being able to carry firearms. You still be able to possess firearms, you just can't carry them. But it would keep them from carrying firearms in public. And if people did want to carry firearms in public, it would have them know the basic law, the basic safety. So you're kind of cutting out that stopgap in the middle and say, okay, well, if you want this, it shall issue, right? Shall issue. All you need to do is just pass this basic test that tells us that you're competent in these areas, and you'll get your permit. And I think they should be free. I think it should be free of charge. And it should be completely monetarily covered by the state, because I don't think that we should be putting this between between classes. Like the rich shouldn't get an advantage over the poor, which is also why I believe that the NFA should be abolished. But that's a different story for a different time.
I'd be interested to talk to you
Yeah,
about that.
first
later.
I want to make sure everyone can hear me, because I'm not sure if my mic's working.
Loud and clear.
I can't hear Ico Rich. I can't hear him.
Oh,
No.
welcome,
no.
Cal. I wish we could.
Just,
I can hear his
we'll
beard.
tell you what he says. We'll tell you what he
Yeah.
says.
Okay, thank you. So if someone could repeat every time he talks, that'd be awesome.
So I think there's a legal issue with this, right? Whereas, of course, we have gun permits now in states, in certain states. But if you now present those gun permits as a solution to this problem, right? So that, okay, now that we've gone through this training, that means people won't do things like this anymore, right? Or will do so with reduced frequency or whatever. Now you're linking the liability for these events to the effectiveness of that permit, right? So at some point, somebody then can sue the state and say, hey, this person was given a permit by the state of Texas saying that they're competent and will therefore won't do stuff like this, won't shoot their Uber driver in the head, okay? So now Texas is responsible. It's just like, if you...
That's not true.
It's not true that people will sue?
That's simply not true. Someone can pass a test to get something. The person that offers the test is not liable for the lack of knowledge of that individual.
So I'm a certified scuba diver. I'm actually a certified rescue diver, and there are certain things that they trained me to do. And
if you somehow manage to guess all of that correctly during the test, and you're absolutely shit afterwards, then sorry.
You're answering something I didn't say. You're answering something I wasn't going to say. You're answering some ghost out there. I don't know. You're shadow boxing.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, if I pass that test, and then I do everything that I'm supposed to do, right? But then some terrible tragedy happens as a result. I'm no longer liable because I have a certification that says that if you do X, Y, and Z, you'll be good. So the liability now transfers on the certifying agency, and those lawsuits do go to the certifying agencies, and not to the individual responsible.
Perfect. Here you go. Perfect. Here you go.
But you have a point.
The state, you're right. It's shared. Probably.
Perfect point. But the state would be the one that would be offering the competency test. It would be firearm safety and the laws, in which the state is already in charge of the laws, and the laws are decided by a 12-panel jury, 12-person panel. So yes, it already does happen. The state the state would put it up against the jury and say, "Are we correct or are they correct?"
So is part of that training then going to be, don't shoot your Uber driver in the head? Because that could be one of the things that they tell you.
No, it obviously wouldn't be that specific, right? There's going to be they're going to go over laws and general application of those laws to try and confirm understanding of the law, but it obviously wouldn't be as specific to include every single thing that's ever happened, right? That would be asinine.
To Rich's point, I think this is. Wait, just to your point, Rich, I think this is solved just by simply changing the language of the license. to where it's like you're not competent, you're just demonstrated proficiency with X, Y, or Z, not general competency. So that would remove the liability from the state to a degree.
Not moral competence. I mean, here's the thing. Let's say you broaden it out, okay? And you just say in the training, you add the sentence, murder is wrong, don't do it. Oh, okay, that's 2 sentences. Murder is wrong, don't do it, right? I mean, if anybody was going through that training and they didn't know murder was wrong before they took it, my guess is they still won't know it after they take it. Right?
Right.
Yeah.
So if you're able to lie your way through a test, just like if you're able to lie your way through any other certification, you're still going to be certified. The test is not it's not bulletproof. Someone can. I've heard of people being able to.
But do you think she would have to lie?
Well, I've heard of people getting other people to pass the bar, like a bar for them, for lawyers, right? They can. There has been scandals in which the bar was passed by other people who were not people that were supposed to be taking the bar, right? So there's going to be scandals. It's not bulletproof, but it definitely is more of a stopgap than nothing.
I can see how this might help with prosecutions after the fact or whatever. I just don't see how it prevents anything because I think most murderers, like before they do a murder, I think I think they, in their own minds, even a lot of them, especially this kind of murder, right, where she was just panicking and then did it. I don't think she would have thought beforehand, oh, murder is okay. Like I don't think she thought that.
No, but she had a severe lack of understanding of reasonability.
And look, speed limits don't.
I agree with
stop
that.
traffic
But you don't know that. This is that's the whole problem with the testing. You don't. A lot of times when these things happen, it's a state of mind thing at the point of the incident, and you're not going to fix for that. There's just no fix for that.
Oh, you.
Well,
Well,
that's-
I'm sorry, but if you just see signs that say Mexico when you're in a city that's near fucking Mexico,
No, that
and
was
you're
her
like,
response.
time to
That was-
shoot the fucking driver.
No.
I'm
Stop.
sorry. No, you're
That
not
was her-
reasonable.
No, that was her response to a question. But you don't know what was the state of mind until we hear a trial.
According to the police, the passenger who shot a Uber driver on US 54 near Loop 375 has been arrested and charged with aggravated assault causing serious bodily injury, second-degree felony. Patrol officers from the El Paso. Wait 1 second. Patrol officers from the El Paso Police Department fire medical called the shooting. The preliminary investigation revealed that Pedro was driving Copus from West Side to a destination in El Paso Mission Valley. At some point during the drive, Copus thought she was being taken in Mexico and shot Pedro.
Yes.
I saw all that.
Do we have
The
video
problem
of the
is
incident?
there's no test that will stop this kind of incident from happening.
Exactly.
That's all
Okay,
we're saying.
but-
Most
wait,
Uber drivers
no, let
have
me-
It doesn't matter.
dash cams, like
There
that
is.
reverse dash cams that show the inside of the cab. Did this one?
No, it's
Was
an
there
Uber.
a video of this?
It's an Uber.
I know, that's what I said. I just
It's
said
unregulated.
most Uber drivers
Oh,
have
okay.
dash cams that look inside the cab.
If there
I bought one
is-
specifically because I sometimes do Lyft, and I wanted to cover my liability, so I have a camera on at all times.
If there is, it's probably in evidence right now, and it's probably not going to be seen until court.
No, I don't
even
expect
then,
to. Yeah,
even then,
I know
even
that.
then, it's probably going to be the jury only.
I know that. I just want to know if police have said that they've recovered video. I know
The
that
police
they
haven't
wouldn't
said
release
anything about that. No.
I didn't say anything to that effect.
Okay,
And,
all right.
and a camera wouldn't stop it, just like a speed limit doesn't
true,
stop a car
yeah.
crash.
Yeah, let me guess
And,
what
like,
happened.
The camera doesn't stop a murder either. Like people just do it anyway. They're pissed off.
Right, but here's
So,
the thing. I
Possible that
understand.
when she saw the sign, she told the driver stop, turn around, but then maybe there wasn't an exit ramp soon enough, so he kept going forward because he had no choice.
Or he didn't
I can
speak
imagine
English.
a scenario where, well, yeah, that's possible too.
I want to know if I'm being unreasonable here. If I ask the panel, do you think that there would be any test, and this goes back to something I said before, do you think that there would be any test which could certify somebody fully and completely indemnify the state issuing their permits or whatever? Obviously, you're not going to have a 100% effective test, right?
You won't have a
Is it-
100% effective test.
Is
No.
perfect
So,
the
so
enemy
we're
of the good?
dealing in degrees of effectiveness. Doing
Is
that,
it
you can say
acceptable
that-
risk?
Oops.
Who
Is
asked? Sorry.
It's a question. It's me.
Oh,
Is
sorry,
it ever acceptable risk to be short of perfect? And I'd say yes. If we're going
Yeah,
to
no,
have
I
this
think it is.
capability, if we're going to have this capability entrusted to anyone, we have to be able to to reduce the fraud, the peril associated with it.
I just
So I think it. Sorry, I think it is. My only point here is that it is not that we should accept tests which are not 100% perfect. My point is that you have a sliding scale, and I wonder how far up the scale we need to go before we find it reasonable. How much risk are we looking to mitigate here? Because if we're looking to Sprouticus's point for a reasonability standard under, then fuck it, have everybody go to law school and pass the bar before they can carry a gun. I'm wondering, where do we stop short of that to find a reasonable test? Because
there is a reasonability standard, right? When she goes to court,
that's not what the Second Amendment says. Sorry, go ahead.
if she goes, well, the Second Amendment doesn't protect shooting at people; it just protects bearing arms. Those are two different things. There's a reasonability test at court. Like if she's tried for, I hope it's more than just assault. If she is eventually tried for some like lower level murder degree or higher level manslaughter, whatever it is, whatever the delineation is.
It is Texas.
There's likely to be a reasonability standard used there, right? Did she reasonably believe that her life was in danger when she fired the gun, and did she take reasonable steps before she did? If there was a camera, we can maybe determine that. If there's not, and all we have is her word for it because we don't have his word for obvious reasons.
I
Okay, wait, no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. She already broke the law by taking a gun into the Uber. Texas has signs. Texas has signs enforceable by the weight of law.
Murder.
No,
right,
Texas.
But that's not murder. You can charge her for illegally taking the gun into the car.
It's pointing to the lack of either knowledge or the lack of care that this person took in their actions. Because Texas has
lack
a signs and
won't give her a murder.
Texas has it will.
Yeah.
There's such thing as what's it called? I forget what it's called. You can get. I'm sorry. You could get a murder charge based off lack of care. So in Texas, signs are enforceable by the weight of law.
Shady.
So with Uber has made it very, very clear, even on their app, that no guns are allowed in Uber vehicles. Now, with that being stated,
wait.
there was a gun in an Uber vehicle.
Can you please?
Yes.
How was it made clear that no guns in Ubers? Is this Texas state law? What are you saying?
No, it's an Uber.
In Texas,
it's an Uber thing. In
Texas, signs are enforceable by the weight of law. So if there's a building that says no guns on the outside, if you carry a gun into it, according to the law, it's as if you carried a gun into a prohibited place.
That's
unless such a law was
case.
found to be unconstitutional under Texas Constitution
Yeah.
or U.S. Constitution, in which case that's going to be voided. And since Texas is a constitutional carry state, I don't know
That's
how
what I
you
was gonna
enforce that.
No.
That's a
If a
specific law about alcohol. It's the 51% law. So if you have 51% of your revenue from food, then you can't bring a weapon inside because it's not a bar. It's super.
Yeah,
niche.
there's a weird thing with Texas, and Texas is going to relitigate what is allowed and not allowed for constitutional carry because they already slapped the University of Austin to allow people to take guns into school and including the classroom. So
this is Texas State Law 46.04, unlawful possession of firearm. 1, carries a handgun on a premises or other property on which carrying a weapon is prohibited under that section. 2, personally receive from the owner of property or another person with apparent authority to act for the owner notice that carrying a firearm or other weapon on the premises or other property was, as applicable, was prohibited. And 3, promptly departed from the premises or the property. Yes, I can read further. I can read further if you'd like me to, but I don't think I need to. In Texas, the signs carry the weight of law, which means that if a business has a sign up, in constitutional carry or not, it is considered a prohibited place.
Sprout,
If I put a
that's
sign
not
up in my
laws.
business that says I'm gonna fuck you in the throat and that's how you pay me,
No,
when it
again,
comes to
carry
guns,
weight of law.
no,
This
it's
is
just guns. It's just guns.
just guns.
Signs that say no guns on the outside of building is enforceable by the weight of law in Texas.
Yes, but
I
Sprout,
jumped at that way too hard. Let me change my metaphor just a little bit. Let me just change it. If my sign says I'm gonna fuck you in the throat with a gun, now let's talk.
Oh my gosh, no! It's literally just signs that say no guns. It's literally just signs that say no
Positive
guns.
versus negative, right?
Sprout.
So, anyways,
The problem is
that's
that
true.
this is
Yeah,
being
no, I think
litigated,
shit's listening.
and they're already chipping away at it, which is why I said this is going to be one of those situations where that's not necessarily going to be enforceable in the future. That's all I was saying. It's what it is now,
Okay.
but they're
Okay.
like I said, they already did UT. They already made it to where you can't. Some businesses can't deny you entry if you weren't have a gun on your hip. Like there's all this other stuff that's going along with it. They're slowly chipping away at that law.
Also, to
Oh,
anyone
We
who's
already have
watching,
a governor who says he's going to pardon somebody who like shot somebody point
To-
blank,
to anyone-
and was found unanimously guilty by a jury. So like
Fucking
Didn't Abbott
to
already do
anyone
that?
to anyone who's watching,
he said
Go ahead.
he might have since then. I don't know.
to anyone who's watching, if you are I am not sponsored by this company, but if you are a concealed carry card holder or want to be a concealed carry card holder, get CCW-concealed 50 states or concealed carry 50 state. It offers it with one push of a button. I can pull up any state gun laws, and I know whether or not I have to tell an officer. I know whether or not signs are do carry the weight of law in that state. I know all of that information, and I know which states I can and can't carry my gun into. It's extremely helpful, and it does add to that knowledge argument that I think that if you're a CCW holder, that you should have the knowledge of whichever state you're going into when you're carrying a gun.
Okay, here's something
Oh,
we
yeah.
also need to be aware of. Texas Penal Code 19.2, subsection A1, describes adequate cause of sudden passion as a degree of emotion. These are things that can make a jury think that your mind was incapable of cool reflection. Okay, and sudden passion includes terror, anger, rage, or resentment. So terror is probably what she would claim, that she was terrified, and in that state of terror, she was incapable of cool reflection, and that's why she fired the gun.
So it's second degree murder, not first degree. I mean, okay.
But the reasonable it still applies to the reasonability standard. A reasonable person would have to be terrified.
Well, you're not
Well,
reasonable in that.
I would
instance.
like. I
This
would
is
love
a
that.
definition,
mitigating.
not
This is a
reasonable.
mitigating
Yeah,
charge
psych
thing.
out.
I don't think it revolves around the point of
Yeah.
what we're talking about, the reasonable person
we-
standard. So
Sorry, if we want to take this full circle, if we want to go back to the original topic at hand, why is she terrified? Because she believes she's being kidnapped. Okay, how did that come about? Because people are talking about human trafficking over the border. Is that possibly the reason? In which case, maybe there is a reason to limit some speech there. Maybe there's not. I probably don't want to limit the speech, but realistically, where did this come from? It comes from people drumming up these things. It's like you have a panic that your neighbor is going to molest your kid or abduct your kid, or your wife is going to abduct your kid. Because actually, most children are kidnapped by their family members. What's a fucking crazy thought to have in your head? And it's not something that the media can push responsibly. I'm not going to say whether they should push it or not.
Got you next,
I
Soy.
just think it's going to have some. I'm soying out hard here. We don't even need
No,
to
continue.
take soy off the panel. I love soy, but I've got enough soy
I'll
for
stop talking
3
about
of us.
guns. I'll stop talking about guns. In
Please
fact,
don't.
I want to talk about a government agency which is stoking our fears. That's the Department of Homeland Security. I don't know if you've caught the blue campaign ads. I seem to get them on
Yes,
half
please
of
do.
the video streaming services that give me commercials. So there is like an official government agency telling us that, oh, we gotta keep our eyes peeled for human trafficking. Could be true, but we're not actually teaching everyone about how to
True.
like actually identify human trafficking and how to prevent it. Maybe if we go to this website, we'll learn more about it. But
Maybe
it
you are
doesn't-
teaching people, but people don't want to use the resources that are openly available to them.
yeah,
Maybe people
be
just
more
watch
reasonable.
ads. Maybe people just watch ads and then say, "Oh no, it's propaganda. I'm not going to go to the link that they just told me to go to learn more."
no, it's all along the lines of see something, say something all over again. Like
Yeah.
people aren't being trained or educated about
see
what
something,
something it actually
Fire
is.
from the hip.
So
That is not what's being stated. That is not what's being stated at all.
Okay, all right. Well, people are lazy. Go
So-
ahead, go off.
Okay,
Yeah,
can I just say based on the thing that I talked about earlier, if something is bumped from first degree murder to second degree murder, like you guys are talking about, what this would do, You're talking about first degree murder is 5 to 99 years in prison. Second degree is 2 to 22. If you take the median of both of those ranges, you're talking about a 52-year sentence going to an 11-year sentence.
Okay,
Is that
I mean
Texas-
that's up to the judge.
Is that Texas specific? I just wanted to ask.
That's Texas specific, yeah.
Thank you.
That's up to the
look
judge,
that up.
though.
I can send you the link. But also, I mean, if you combine that with other defenses that they can make, I mean, all I'm saying is like it does look like the way that our laws are structured right now in Texas does give her, her the ability to.
So you said it's class, not class B. It's murder. What?
I can send you the link.
Second degree.
It's the penal code, Title 5, Chapter 19. But. Oh wait, that's the one.
Hey Cal, if there's a lull in the panel just for a second, could you just disavow Rampage Paul? Just.
Oh yeah, I completely disavow Rampage Paul. I can't not do that. I should do that on every panel. But
I was asking Cal. I got a fucking bonus disavowal.
okay, so
Are we
Guess
finally
it's
off to
about-
A?
we've been off to
No,
A.
Might
I'm
be.
googling.
Let's frame the conversation because the reason I was so pissed, and I just want to make this clear, is that the question was about demagoguery, right? And is that leading us to nefarious ends? And my whole problem was the prompt was demagoguery in its own self, and I called it out for what the fuck it was. But Cypher, my good friend Cypher, absolutely laid it out in a way which was great. And that is, hey, you know what? We do have this conversation that's being put out. We've had the National Guard mobilized in Texas to patrol the border. I don't know if that's still going on. Someone want to fill me in?
I don't believe it is.
Yeah. Is that a warranted response, right? That's a very real conversation, right? So, any takers on that? Any takers at all? Like, should the National Guard...
There's a pretty serious difference between the demagoguery of the question that you're addressing that's upsetting you and the demagoguery of people who are saying, hey, if you are ever in an Uber and you're near the border, be careful. If you see signs with like scary names on them, you're probably going to fucking die or be free for like 30 years. We don't know.
It's also so just to kind of, because I did Google this and stuff like that. So the whole idea of this turning into second degree murder is that if the defendant's lawyers used the argumentation of limited liability because of she was in terror, again that would apply to the reasonable person standard, in which a reasonable person would have to be in terror, in that for the terror to be like limited liability. I can't just randomly claim that I was in terror. I was terrified. And it work in a court. There has to be a reasonable person standard.
Do you think that a reasonable woman would be in fear of her life in a similar situation and a reasonable man would not?
No.
Why?
I think that if you paid for an Uber to go to a place and they're taking you to that place, then you would not be in fear.
What if you don't know? What if the directions are looking funky and you're, like we said, we don't know what happened, right? So if let's assume
and she's
that
not
what
from
happened,
Texas,
and she's not from Texas. So let's assume that the Uber map that was on the thing was going all over the place. It was changing directions because of how interconnected our highway system is, which is fucked up, right? It's the only state in the country that has this weird overlapping highway system where you can be on one highway and then suddenly on another one after 2 feet, right? Okay, so let's assume that happened, because that's a reasonable expectation in Texas. Would a woman, not knowing the exact location that they're going to, be in reasonable fear while a man would not be?
Not that terrified. Not terrified enough to use lethal force. No.
Okay.
Maybe terrified. Maybe terrified enough to ask a question.
Pretty extreme.
Not terrified. Not terrified. Maybe terrified enough like to ask a question. Like, hey,
we don't know that didn't happen.
What's going on with the maps here?
Terrified. You're not asking questions. You're just terrified.
So
okay, we're using terror as in a sliding scale, right? Because terror is the limited liability cause for Texas. right? That's what we're discussing.
Sure.
So terror is a sliding scale right now. So if someone is terrified at that point, a reasonable person would be asking questions, not shooting people in the head.
Right.
So
but let's.
I just no.
I
hold
don't
on.
want to go on
Getting
this
back
tangent. Never mind. I'm done. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm good.
Well, no,
Sprout, I just
sure.
want to know where
I
you
wanna
see
address it
reasonable
further.
standard in the penal code there.
Megan, wait.
Reasonable person
Are you
standard?
saying, yeah, I mean, I'm seeing where it says if they're experiencing terror. I'm
Wait,
not saying if they have a reason, if they conclude the way a reasonable person would.
One sec.
I'm sorry.
What I'm saying is,
if
I
they're-
just wanted to. Go ahead.
Okay, I just if it says if a person experiences terror the way a reasonable person would, then I can see it. But I don't see that in that part of the penal code. I'm just seeing that terror, that the experiencing terror is the
Pretty sure the entire
is what
law
qualifies
is.
you to that.
Pretty sure the entire law is backed by the reasonable person standard.
Where does it
May
say?
I
I mean, it
now-
would be in there, right?
May I-
No, because
This is
speeding, because
really
because
off topic.
question that I
because
have.
wait, speeding,
Plus,
one sec.
We
please.
can't get a cue. It's always like I put up 6 fingers and then somebody else puts up 7 fingers and they go first. Is that how this works?
Not
Well, I
necessarily.
mean, I was directly addressed.
He was addressing. Okay, so
You
he was,
were directly addressed, but like okay, goddamn, no. You know what? Moderator's choice. Fuck.
so directly after Sprout. Go ahead after him, Chip.
Okay.
So go ahead,
So
Sprout.
so if you're speeding and where there should have been a speed sign, there wasn't a speed sign because someone ran over it with their vehicle, or it wasn't basically viewable from a reasonable person standard, right? Then you can go to court and say that a reasonable person would not know what the speed limit was because the speed limit sign was not available at that time. Therefore, I'm not guilty of speeding because a reasonable person would not know what the speed limit was. So now at that point, you're not guilty of speeding because a reasonable person wouldn't know what the speed limit was. A reasonable person standard applies to the entirety of the law.
Wait, so ignorance not an excuse, doesn't apply here.
Ignorance?
Yeah, ignorance of the speed sign, of the speed limit in the area where you are. Ignorance of the law is an excuse. in this case.
Because you just turned onto the street, there was no speed limit sign, and you're not familiar with the area. A reasonable person in that
And
situation.
therefore, you were
this,
ignorant
please?
of the law.
No, because the speed limit sign was
Which
ran
is an
over by some
excuse.
dumb fuck,
No.
and it took out the speed sign. No,
This is
that
a
is
bad
not
example,
ignorance.
but-
That's a reasonable
Yeah.
person standard in which the reasonable person would not be guilty of speeding because a reasonable person would not know what the speed limit was.
May I ask my question and then shut the fuck up for a couple minutes?
Go ahead, Chip.
Just
You don't need to shut the fuck up. Just
I
go
wanted
ahead.
to ask Sprout. Well, I'm going to. Worry about it. Sprout. Do you think that the what could be considered a reasonable person, or what would be the logic of a reasonable person, or the mental waves, whatever's going on in their brain? Do you think that that could be changed by different things that are going on in society? So, Jesus Christ, you could have made this a lot more concisely 3 minutes ago, but realistically, what is a reasonable person? A reasonable person is affected by their surroundings. No, like, is it unreasonable for me to internalize arguments that are made 300 times a day around me? Versus, like, is it unreasonable for me to think that, oh, somebody's going to kill me because it never happens around me, it's never covered in the news? But if somebody starts to talk about these things a lot in front of me, xenophobic language, whatever you were talking about at the beginning of the question, does that reasonable person standard change? That's my question to you. Does it change with what we are inundated with societally?
Brilliant question.
So the answer to that question is yes and no. A reasonable person or the average. No, so you're gonna have to listen to my explanation as to why I say yes
sorry,
and no.
I will listen. I'm just saying
Okay,
it's not an answer.
so-
It's yes and no. But go ahead. I trust you.
A reasonable person or the average person in that situation, that is a determination that is decided by a jury. So it depends on what 12 members of the jury you are talking to, and those 12 members sometimes can determine that a reasonable person would have done that, and those 12 members of the jury sometimes can say that a reasonable person in that situation wouldn't have done that. It depends on the 12 members of your jury.
No, a reasonable person standard does not depend on the 12 members of your jury.
Yes, it does.
That depends on whether you get convicted. That doesn't mean you actually are or actually aren't reasonable.
No, so when a reasonable person standard is brought up, is typically in court. Police rarely
Or
police
right now,
ra-
which is not
police
court, which is when we're
police
talking
rarely
about the justifiability of laws of this. Triggered.
police
I'm
police
This is
rarely
unreasonable.
quiet.
I declare this unreasonable.
police rarely use
appreciate
police rarely use or talk about the reasonable person standard in the fringe cases where it's typically talked about in court. And when it is talked about in court, that is a standard that is left up to the jury. Would an average person feel this way? Would an average person do this action? That's a question that's left to the jury, typically by the defense.
You're talking about how it typically plays out in the courtroom. And I do agree with you that this is how it plays out in the courtroom. Right now, we're talking about the standard. We're talking about the standard. And if we're not doing it now,
it's an
but
average
probably
person.
Probably the last time that we did it.
It's an average person.
Average person is the one who hopefully votes for people that enact legislation, and then hopefully votes for people that then
I'm so lost.
Supreme Court justices to. The whole thing here is we can talk about a reasonable ability standard outside of how it goes down inside the court. Why would we want that as a law? How does that function?
Because we don't
this
want.
Isn't a courtroom. This isn't a courtroom. You have to understand how it goes on in a courtroom. I'm saying, can we discuss the standard itself?
The standard in and of itself is an average person. What an average person is left up to the jury. The jury is the finder of fact.
I mean, you're doing it again. We're the jury right now. We are the finders of fact. And
No, this is not a courtroom, like you said. Come on, move on. Let's go.
So
I'm telling you how the law is. I'm telling you how the law is applied. That's how the law is applied. Is the jury is the finder of fact. The jury is the finder of what is a reasonable person.
I'm not really sure that I needed you to tell me that.
Osiris.
Since Rich came in a little bit late, I'm kind of curious what his take is on the original question and how we should look at the rhetoric behind what's going on the border and what's actually going on the border.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that's a very good question because, of course, we both live in Texas, so we hear that rhetoric a little bit more. I find it interesting that this is not somebody who lives near the border, but somebody who is visiting from another state. So I think it's a really good example of what the perceptions of people who don't live there think it's like in Texas compared to what it's really like. And I think that's true in Southern California.
What do you
Arizona,
think it's really like? What's your take on what it's really like?
I mean, I've been down there many times. I've got friends close to the border. I've been to El Paso many times. I think it's if you actually live there, and I've got friends who live there, like they never run into the kinds of problems that are being talked about there. There's a lot of violence south of the border. It is true that there's an increasing number of clashes between gangs on our side of the border on occasion. But this idea that you could kidnap somebody and get through a checkpoint as an Uber driver, without this person having an opportunity to escape or whatever, the fact that this is something. Also, Uber drivers are rated by their previous customers, but people tend to not take. Actually, you don't last long as an Uber driver if you're not like a 4.5 star or higher. So you're talking about somebody who kidnaps people and brings them over the border and still gets 5-star ratings from those people. That's just the number of ways in which this person is just sort of outside the bounds of accuracy in terms of what it's like down there. Yeah, this is hysteria fueled by the media, hysteria fueled by, in part, maybe in a majority right-wing media, trying to make the border look as if it's basically a war zone.
Ty, you want to address that?
All the drugs. The drugs.
With that biased
Ty, he had his headphones off. Ty.
Oh, he didn't hear any
Talking
of
about
that.
drugs.
No, I got to the point where I didn't want to listen anymore.
No, we're back on topic. We're back on topic. We're back on. So okay. So I guess Rich. So the meat of the question is, what is the amount of culpability, responsibility that rhetoric has? Should we kind of curb some free speech because of the rhetoric, or I don't think you'd agree with that, but I guess that's the question.
No, yeah, I don't think we should curb free speech.
Was
I
he
do
asking
think
you or me?
Well, you didn't
Well,
he
he
was
was-
but Rich was saying that
he was
that was
asking you because of
unreasonable.
what I just said, and he was catching you up on what I said.
Okay. As far as my own answer to this, like, I probably agree with the Supreme Court on this one. The problem here is that you could blame the person who spews the bullshit, and you can knock them in the teeth. But there's just a whole order of magnitude to where you really need to hold the people who are responsible, who commit actions based on what they hear. And I have to just largely agree with that. It's like, there's a conversation about like self-control and like actually doing diligence. And, I can agree that we don't have great media literacy. I don't think we ever really did, to be honest. It's just the problem is every idiot can now talk on the internet. But when it comes down to it, is people can put themselves in
We are
echo
living
chambers.
proof.
Yeah, people can put themselves in echo chambers. That echo chamber can enforce stupid ass ideas, and when you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. And I'm not going to hold that against the speaker nearly as much as I am going to hold it against the people who act on it.
Sure, but do you think that to piggyback off of that, do you think there can be some legal responsibility for outright lies or exaggerations by, we'll say, media figures?
This is the question.
I've okay.
Like incitement. Should incitement be a crime?
The problem is like you have to prove the incitement, and like I'll go with this because just let me finish this, okay? I'll put it in this regard real quick, is that the problem with incitement, the problem with like liability, slander, which a lot of these actually just fall under originally, right? Is that you're saying a bunch of dumb shit, right? You can be legally held responsible, but that's more of a peer-to-peer or corporate-to-corporate conversation. It's usually the government doesn't come in because I think the founders were right. When the government is the one who's literally arbitrating the truth, we literally are in the process of creating a ministry of truth. I don't want to touch that shit. I don't trust Democrats or Republicans to administrate that well, to run that well. I would rather have it where people could just sue the fuck out of each other and maybe get somewhere there. I don't want government touching speech unless they absolutely fucking have to. And
So
that's still hard by to clear.
So the Trump solution, let's open up the libel laws.
Maybe, yeah. Like, don't get me wrong, this makes libel a rich people's playpen, but there's a level where I mean, seriously, it's hilarious because the Trump solution would make it where Trump is paying out the nose, but that's me.
No, I don't.
Like, seriously, like Bill Maher would have wrecked him in that when Trump said he was going to sue Bill Maher. Y'all remember that shit?
Yeah.
Like, Bill Maher's lawyers would have wrecked Trump, and he would have had to pay out for that. It'd been fucking great. Like, literally, I'm just amazed that we're now getting to the point here in 2023 to where legalism is actually catching up to Donald Trump. Because I'm like, it should have happened ages ago, and somehow it's now finally getting there.
It should have happened in like the 90s. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I was gonna say
mean, Fox
in the
News
80s, 90s.
Fox News paid a big penalty for lying on air.
True, they
Yeah,
did.
about
And
time.
by the way, the government didn't have shit on that one. That's literally personal actors.
Yeah, that was a civil
Yep.
suit. Yeah.
Yes,
Civil
it's
civil
personal
suit.
actors.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, I can't afford lawyers like this shit, right? And there's one person that I like. Most people who know me know this story. There's one person in this community Twitch poll that I would have sued the fucking shit out of, but it would not have been worth my time, effort, and money. But I absolutely would have done it, and they would be owing me every penny they had for the rest of their lives. And you all know that, so.
And
Damn,
Fox
I don't know
lost
that. I'll talk
another
to you
one,
about it
$12
later.
million.
So
I kind of
with
wonder who that is.
great power comes great responsibility. That's what I'm hearing.
Spartacus.
Yeah,
what I
it's
hear.
me. Yeah, Tiberius is gonna sue me. He told me. He told me that over lunch. That's actually when he served. That's actually when he served me. That's when he served me. He served me with court papers over lunch.
Next time I roll through Indiana, we should hang out. Just saying.
Hey, sounds good. I'm definitely down.
So, Alith, I mean, I don't know if I need to talk to you or that other guy with the big head. But I think I don't think we should end the border topic with this thing, because I think this is unfruitful in my opinion. But the fentanyl and the drug problem that's going on the border, I think that is a much more interesting topic that we need to probably dive into sometime in the future, maybe.
If you'd really like to, but it's just crack all over again with other victims. I mean, if you want to play that game, we can play that game.
I like. Hey, look. We didn't solve crack, so we should probably talk about it.
We kind of did.
Actually.
Yeah, we replaced it with something else.
I mean, the only people I know that are have heard of doing crack recently seem to be like connected to very high figures in offices.
What?
Yeah, crack is hard to
driving
wait,
74 miles an hour with a crack pipe.
Wait, what are you talking about?
He's talking about Hunter, man. Come on.
This is Hunter.
I'm talking about Hunter Biden.
He's a cokehead, not a crackhead. There's a difference.
No, he's a crackhead. Okay? He smoked crack.
No, that fool was smoking crack on the road.
I don't keep up on my crackheads.
Taking a picture of his speedometer at like 74 miles an hour with the crack pipe in his hand.
Yeah,
what about 75? That's all he was saying.
But what about Amber Heard's? What about Amber Heard? Taking a sniff of coke in court.
Did she?
Damn.
Jesus.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and bounce to the next topic.
Not sure that's provable.
We want to hear about the riots.
It's definitely not provable, but it's good.
So, topic 2. In the midst of repeated unrest in France, should this empower police to use all means necessary to keep the peace? Unions representing half of French police on Friday said they were at war with vermin in nights of rioting over an officer shooting of a teenager. Today, police officers are at the front line because we are at war, the Alliance Police Nationale and UNSA Police Union said in a statement echoing far-right turns of phrase. I'm reading the article, I'm not putting that in my self-tie. Faced with these savage hordes is no longer enough to call for calm. It must be imposed, they added. So with this being the mindset of the police unions when speaking to the French government, should the police be able to use any means necessary to quell the violence that is going on after 2 back-to-back riots in France, first over Social Security, the second over the shooting of a teenager? Can I go ahead and start with Cypher?
You got me right when I was burping. Okay, so first of all, to me, it sounds like the police are being racist here. But I'm going to hold my judgment on that completely because I don't know how they're using minorities or if vermin is just a general French turn of phrase that isn't just applied to minorities. My guess is that it is, but it probably, but I'm not 100% sure because I am not French. So holding on judgment there. Secondly, though, I think that with the French in general, we're just seeing good old French integration, everybody. Everybody can be French and it is French to riot. And the police have to deal with this every so few years and things like that. So kind of things seems like they're just crying over spilt milk, considering this happens. What could happen 6 months ago, then 6 months before that, and then oh shit, another 6 months before that. Oh, it happens almost twice a year. I don't know. That's all I'm gonna say.
Every 2 weeks.
Okay, Rich.
So when I hear any means necessary, it seems to me that what they're saying is any means necessary, like to keep the peace, to keep the crowds placid, right? But that's not the law, right? So their job is to enforce the law. So that means, yeah, if someone's doing something illegal and you see it and you're the police, you absolutely should enforce the law to whatever extent you can. Now, the police are outnumbered in this case. But if they're going to if by any means necessary, they mean like, shooting people, then it needs to be somebody who is, who meets whatever the criterion is for a police shooting somebody in any other circumstance, right? So if somebody is, maybe their standard is that they pose a deadly threat to somebody at that moment, and shooting them is the only way to stop them, then they should do it. Although pragmatically probably a bad idea in the middle of a crowd because then you're going down next. But they should enforce the law in any way they can, but they cannot go beyond enforcing the law. Like France is a country that has the rule of law as like part of it as part of its identity, and you can't like police making those kinds of decisions that that's they're just not allowed to do that. They are under the command of other people who are not police, and they have to enforce the laws that are written on the books, not sort of create the laws in their heads as they go.
All right. Chip.
I'm actually just way too triggered to even talk about this. Personally, that last topic went so poorly. I went off the rails. I'm so angry right now. What I want to say is I should be able to use any means necessary to stop y'all from fucking slandering me, destroying my reputation. That's disgusting. I can't believe you would do that. On a more serious note, obviously what iCoverage said makes a lot of sense. Any means necessary versus any means under what the law says that they can do is a very different thing. I want to ask for clarification because I wonder if we're talking about whether the shooting is justified, whether we're talking about, and I think it's probably going to be a mix, or whether we're talking about what the police might need to do because the shooting happened and because you have, for example, Macron. You guys obviously read an article addressing it in the way that he has. In most of these cases, my answer is going to be these should restrain themselves more than any individual. Besides, they should. Jesus, they should restrain themselves more than any individual citizen would normally be expected to do. So I think that even though they're supposed to keep the force of law, somebody, I think it was actually Cypher, said they're outnumbered here. I'm not really sure that you can impose the force of law. You are outnumbered. So at that point, I think it becomes more about using any legal means necessary to restrict damage to innocent parties, unrelated parties, etc., rather than you need to contain these people. I know there's some murky ground in there in the middle, but yeah, we should probably stop riots, but be very careful how we do it.
Before we go forward to elaborate on the question, what I mean by any means necessary is mostly in reference to how the police union is addressing this issue. So let me read this very quickly from that article. In quotes, now that's enough. Facing these savage hordes, asking for calm is no longer enough. It must be imposed. Restoring the Republican order and putting the apprehended beyond the capacity to harm should be the political signals to give. In the face of such exactions, the police family must stand together. Our colleagues, like the majority of citizens, can no longer bear the tyranny of these violent minorities. The time is not for union action, but for combat against these pests. Surrendering, capitulating, and pleasing them by laying down arms are not the solutions in the light of the gravity of the situation. All means must be put in place to restore the rule of law as quickly as possible. Once restored, we already know that we will relive this mess that we have been enduring for decades. For all these reasons, Alliance Police Nationale and UNSA Police will take their responsibilities and warn the government from now on that at the end, we will be in action and without concrete measures for legal protections of the police, an appropriate penal response. Significant means provided, the police will judge the extent of consideration given. Today, the police are in combat because we are at war. Tomorrow, we will be in resistance, and the government will have to become aware of it. And Chip, this is why I was going to let you continue and go ahead and finish up your opening statement.
I really appreciate that. So if we're focusing on that, it sounds like a whole bunch of sort of maybe it's not, but I'd just like to. The thing I'd like to append to my statement is that a lot of people want to say some shit like "ACAB, all cops are bastards." Right? I don't like that necessarily. I don't have a lot of respect for police officers. People can say that I'm extreme about it because I really don't like them. But
I do actually maybe think that all police union members are bastards because they end up supporting the worst behavior of others in the police. So maybe it's not all cops, but if you're going to stand by that statement as a French police officer, as an American police officer, as a citizen of either country, that shit sounds radical as fuck, boy. I don't know what you're doing.
Although it's worth noting that it's 50% of police union. The other 50% of police union members are represented by organizations that did not say that. That doesn't mean they don't think it, right? But
True.
there
But
are
thank you, Iko.
unions
I
that have
didn't
not
actually
joined
realize
in
that.
on this statement.
I didn't realize there
Yeah.
were separate unions. I really appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Sure. Yeah. It may well be that all unions think that and only half are
Okay.
willing to say it out loud.
Okay, Osiris.
I'll be honest with you. I'm hesitant to speak on this because I don't know the French cultural context on this shit.
They're French. You don't have to
but-
care.
I
True.
demand you give your answer in French.
And I
okay?
believe in freedom fries over French fries. First of all, second of all, that letter that you read, I read that letter and I was like, yeah, that sounds pretty fucking racist. I don't know, I don't know, but it sounds racist as fuck. So I don't. Again, that's my initial assumption. I don't know what the fuck's going on over there. I don't know what their cultural context is, but I do believe if we put this in American context and reevaluate it, I would say that by definition, riots are probably illegal, right? So under the law, the police should be able to do whatever they can do under law to squash some civil unrest. Protesting is completely 100,000% fine. Rioting and burning shit up and shooting people is crazy.
All right, Seattle.
All right. Of course, rioting is illegal. So is what the police did to the kid. His name's Nahil M. And they shot him in. I thought they shot him in the back. Is that right? I'm not 100% clear.
I
heard in
believe
the
they
chest.
shot through the windshield and killed him,
All
not
right.
from the back.
And since he was accelerating forward, yes, he was.
All right. Well, very interesting. But yeah, basically what my experience lies is a similar, the George Floyd protests. And we actually had a police force that lied to us. They lied. They abandoned the East Precinct here in Capitol Hill, Seattle. And it was a dereliction of duty that they essentially walked away from the precinct. And so we had after sustained protest that were nonviolent, after we had, people related to the police charge the crowd in a vehicle with a handgun. It's kind of like this press release is basically the same as the Seattle Police Officers Guild speaking on Fox News. It is a mouthpiece of the police trying to deflect from their own responsibility. And that's basically what this is about. The current developments are that the violence is subsiding after there's a little bit of questioning of the officer responsible. So I think this is sort of an anarchist expression of fuck around and find out. It's when your police force has gone beyond their mission and they're not just protecting, but they're killing in order to enforce order, you're gonna get feedback from the population. And so the people have spoken. I don't necessarily agree with all of the violence, but I think that it is the ultimate relief valve for something like an abuse of power. And unfortunately, that's where France quite often finds themselves.
Right. Spartacus.
Yeah, I think that the police are obviously wrong in the situation, but so are the rioters. the police officer in question was arrested for murder charges pretty quickly. Typically in America, when you see this type of riots, even though I might have some issue with American riots as well, that the police officer is not in custody. And typically when the police officer that is in question is in custody, these riots kind of stop or halt or kind of slow down, and are much less violent. But to add all that in, basically they're rioting over someone who's already in custody, awaiting charges and awaiting court. They're rioting for no reason. They're rioting just to let people know they're mad. These riots are absolutely, in my mind, incorrect, illegal, not morally not morally excusable. There's nothing about these riots that finds me giving them a saving grace. So the fact that they're rioting when someone's already in jail for the crime that they're saying was committed is absolutely insane. But I'm sure that the panel will have something to say about that as well.
Excellent. Tiberius.
Muted.
Muted. Professional streamer.
Sorry, I hit the button. It didn't work out. Anyway, two sides of this. First and foremost is that when it comes to like the assertion, is there like a crime problem? Is there a people problem? The crime problem, at least by the French statistics that they send out, yeah, they're actually saying that Paris is one of the most crime-ridden, infested hellholes in their whole country. All right, and that's from a French source. I'm literally looking at it now from Bonnevizier. However, let's get to the second part, the more spicy part, right? Let's talk about race. Is this sound incredibly racist? Absolutely it does, right? I don't think anyone's going to push back on that. Do we have a race problem in France? Well, the reissue is we have no fucking idea because it is constitutionally illegal to collect ethnic data in France. So you could have a massive problem to where one small group of people is committing 80% of the crime. It could be a bunch of racist bullshit. We have absolutely no idea, and we're not going to know. Did this thing happen bad? Yeah, of course. Is it where the police are definitely having a bad PR problem with their local, folks? Yes. However, that right-wing talking point that about Europe and European cities and, a lot of folks from a lot of different places, actually very, very true. So I don't know where European police, or if you will, the Parisian police, have gone into a community that usually doesn't see them very often, and they had a bad altercation, or if it's one of these deals to where all hell broke loose because the police were just doing their job. I don't know. Honestly, don't. And unfortunately, I'm only going to get half the data at best to validate it. Good job, France.
France.
So I guess
I'm going to go ahead and open it up.
Say something here.
Well, first want to say, why does France get allowed to riot more than we do?
Because
How
they're France.
dare
They do this for hundreds of years. That's what they do. They literally just riot because they make
Once you,
sorry French fries. Their
literally
French fries suck and they're mad.
Y'all,
Yeah,
you guys go ahead and
execute a king,
shit on
and
France.
then you execute the aristocracy. I
Oh,
think
that's
people
Belgian
just don't want
fries.
to fuck with you. They're just
Belgian
like,
fries.
Go off. You do what you want. We don't want the smoke, France. We don't want the smoke. But I wanted to say that I'm really glad that Tiberius brought up the constitutional ban, I guess is how you would phrase it, on reporting on that ethnicity data in France, which I do believe is true. I don't have the French Constitution or anything like that in front of me, but I'm glad that somebody brought it up. It's interesting. I don't really think that we need the reporting data on that to know. You're right. We are getting like half data or whatever. I don't think we need that to know, to see who's getting or who's committing crimes. We can see that. We could pull up. I don't know. It does get more difficult, but realistically, I don't think that this necessarily is a racial issue, and I'm sort of echoing something that Cypher said in chat earlier, which is not the Twitch chat. Sorry, in Discord. I think it was Cypher, where it's you don't really know if it's racial. It could just be about these are immigrants. So I don't know if it needs to be racial for me to be concerned about somebody calling somebody vermin or saying that like there's an infestation or something like that. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't care where the Jews are from or if you know they're Jews. If I can kind of tell it's Jews you're calling vermin, I'm going to be like, you're a Nazi.
No, yeah, that was me in the Discord chat. And just to clarify, I didn't know if that particular these minorities is being used in the same way that we use it. The vermin and everything else like that is got a bunch of racial overtones in France. I know that for a fact, but I'm not sure if this is the French having a certain je ne sais quoi, right? And if it's just being French or if this is them being racist, because I don't know anything about this particular group of unions.
Yeah,
Oh,
to be clear,
one quick
Nihil
meme?
was North
Oh, go ahead.
African.
Yes, North African
Just
and
to
Arab.
lay it out, he's North
Yeah.
African.
He was Muslim,
Yeah,
he got
yeah.
shot.
and they have a Muslim problem, and also I think
Problem.
I should point out, but problem. So, anyways, I should also point out that there's an integration. In my opinion, there's an integration problem in Europe, in the way that we don't have in America. That's much very different. And this is why I said I'm hesitant to speak on the fact of the matter, because I don't know what that integration problem actually looks like in Europe, and how that plays out, and how that's effective. I would love to hear how Haas disagrees, because he
No,
clearly
I
disagrees.
don't disagree. I stand what you're saying right now. That's pretty fucking accurate. Sorry, go ahead. Whoever's gonna.
No, I was just going to say the French are kind of a more American in that sense than the rest of Europe is. So to put it in this context, like the French actually believe anybody can be French, even if they don't practice it that well. But in the rest of Europe, it's more nationality based, or at least it was 10 years ago.
Yeah, those things are hard to track, but it's interesting that you're saying that the French are sort of more on the same page. US is the same way, like a lot of people say the UK is more on the same page the US is in certain areas. I'm sure the French are as well, but I had no idea that was part of it. I'm just gonna hit my meme right quick, which is if riots are the language of the unheard, nobody listening to the French. What the else they gonna?
Well, my first statement, and I will say I will have to disagree with Cypher on this slightly, because they only will allow you to be French as an immigrant, white, and you look like them. If you're Algerian, even French Algerian, meaning you were literally a French citizen and you were on French lands, you were still called an immigrant.
No, I know. I'm saying, like, they have, like, culturally speaking, they have a more anybody can be French, but just like the US, they have a racial problem, just like every other white country, or country I should say, on the planet, that they're like, you're not really French, but anybody can be French. That's just all I mean. Like,
yeah, so for anybody who knows, can I just ask really quickly, does France have birthright citizenship? Because I'm legitimately ignorant to that fact.
No, they don't.
Or no?
They inherited citizenship.
The United States is literally like the only country that has birthright citizenship.
They're not literally the only country.
No. Like, you guys are confusing.
We are one of three.
Most countries have. Okay, when you say birthright, you just mean on soil, right?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, they soil not their blood
parents.
or whatever. Yeah,
And we're not going to talk about why we have it.
I can use like Denmark as an example. I believe that if your parents are
I'm Japanese, by the way.
then you have what you could also call birthright citizenship to be Danish. It's 3 generations of residence, actually just Danish. You have an interesting situation the same way with Japan, where Japan doesn't count ethnicity as much in the way that Tiberius said it. They don't talk about that. If you're born in Japan, you are Japanese, but there's some stipulations.
Yeah. That's very interesting. I think one of the things we should talk about, though, here is how, in this particular instance, it does seem that this is one of those cases where it was the straw that broke the camel's back, because there was like a Netflix movie talking about this very thing happening that came out like a year or 2 years ago because of all the cultural zeitgeist that was existing in France about how there was... Say again?
It came out last summer.
Yeah, okay. So it came out last summer, where it talked about all this kind of stuff because of all the issues that the French police and France in general, as well, were having with immigrants from North Africa and the Middle East. So,
would you those who know better, would you say this is comparable to in the way that we're dealing with it and how it's all playing out in the way that America is dealing with the Southern immigrants in America?
I mean, Osiris, They came after Haitians with whips
I'm
on
sorry.
horseback.
Wait.
Lethe a panel member now? I don't know what's going
No,
on.
I couldn't help myself. No one was gonna say.
I mean, in today's right now. Wait, what I don't know.
This
Whoa.
one real
Whoa.
robot.
That
Say
would
it
have
again.
been hard.
Yeah, try that again, Johnny Five. What was that, Osiris? Because all we heard was.
We heard what? Are you doing that?
Oh, my internet shit on me. No,
you went Johnny Five on us. It's fine.
no, I was like, never
Johnny
mind. Fuck
2,
it.
Johnny 1, Johnny -5.
My issue is that I'm having a hard time understanding the context of what's happening in France, because I mean, some things are clear. There's racist things happening, obviously, but how do I associate this with America?
You can
in
associate
the
with
same
any
way.
other
You'd have-
other thing of immigration that happens pretty much anywhere in the world where you have a large swell of immigrants come in. You have xenophobia that attaches to it, and that's
Okay,
kind
fair
of what's
enough.
happening
All
in
right.
France.
Yeah,
So it's not so much that it's like an illegal immigration issue like we have in the United States where people are
It's just
they
those
took our
people.
jobs. It's just you're not French. You're coming here. I don't know who you are. You come from dangerous countries. Get the fuck out. Go back to your country. Fix your own problems. Like it's that
See,
kind
but
of.
that's
issue.
If I'm a white
That- see,
Texan, I
but-
might say I hate immigrants, but I just hate brown people and I call all of them immigrants, right?
I mean, kind of, but the difference between this is France is doing this against its own citizens. It doesn't give a fuck if you're French. It gives a fuck if you look French.
Yeah, no, there's definitely
Jack,
that
are they
racist
citizens
problem.
though?
Some of these Algerians that are there
Yes.
oppressing absolutely are French citizens. Their parents were French citizens. Their grandparents were French
That's
citizens.
true. Which
So
is
Algerians are the
point that
French
I was
black
making,
people.
But that's explicitly
Yes.
why I asked about birthright citizenship. If they don't have it, then yeah, they
Well-
are being
well,
racist against the French people that are just fucking French. But if they don't have birthright citizenship, then it gets a little
No,
bit
when-
different,
when
right?
the
Yeah,
French-
but no,
when
these
the
are
French Empire-
generations of citizenship because it is inherited citizenship. The fact that their
Yeah.
great grandparents are French, there is zero laws on the book that can remove their citizenship. They can't even be banished from the country. Like we can technically revoke U.S. citizenship from a natural born U.S. citizen. We can technically banish them from the country. We haven't done it in 250 years, but technically we have a law on the books. France does not.
Yeah.
Okay,
France also
that's good
France also
information.
has the Foreign Legion.
That's about.
Yeah, and you can
Which
earn
if you don't know
French
if
citizens
you
that
don't know
way.
what the Foreign Legion is, if you want to have a new identity and a new everything, you can go to France. You can join the Foreign Legion, and the
Fabulous.
Foreign Legion is France's military group that they send to the shittiest places and the places where it's like
It's
Right,
5
most
or
likely
7.
to die.
It's
That
between
if you
5
go
and
to
I'd like
7.
to
the-
ask a question.
Oh, hold on, my point's real
Please
quick.
respond
Then if
to
you go,
Sprout.
yeah,
Please
I will.
respond to
But
Sprout, then
my
I'd like to
point's
ask a
real
question.
quick. Yeah, but when you go through the French Foreign Legion, if you actually choose to do so at the beginning of your service, you can have something done to you called being sheep dipped, meaning they literally erase your fucking identity from existence. It doesn't show up anywhere, and they give you a whole new set of papers.
Yeah, and you can
They give you a whole
and
new
it's-
set of papers either way, but you can choose to maintain your identity just in case you want it after you're done with the Foreign Legion.
Or you
You
can
can-
be sheep
you can
dipped, and
try
it's
to.
And it's-
completely erased.
And it's one way to get citizenship. Also, to Jack's point, all these people that have citizenship now have it because of the dissolution of the French Empire. They basically adopted everybody. If you were a part of the French Empire, you were French,
You-
and therefore you got the citizenship and were
Yeah,
allowed
like-
to move to France. Similar
like,
to how
technically
we.
they're
It's part of the
technically there are
avionic
French
accords.
Yeah, technically there are French citizens in South America, in Suriname and Ghana,
Yeah.
and so on.
I mean, okay. Well, can I just? I'll just ask my question really quickly, and then I don't know how much I'll have to say for a minute. But do you guys think, I'm asking the entire panel, that you exacerbate xenophobia, or do you think it has any impact, maybe positive, maybe negative, when you do have birthright citizenship versus inherited citizenship? Do you think that there is a way to interpret that and see how it could be used to fix a problem? Because you could make that policy change. So what do you think?
It is great. America is like where, if you are here, you're born here, you are an American, you are able to get the benefit of our community. And that's probably a more egalitarian thing. And it's pretty ironic that French and their revolutionary spirit didn't really adopt that, but America has.
I think that it would.
They literally, like, the egalitarian principle was we were not going to judge you on race, so we were going to make it constitutionally allowed to where we won't literally, like, investigate it. Like,
No,
that was
it's
the
a different question, Ty.
Oh, okay.
It is slightly different, but I want to be very clear that, like, you would think, maybe even to Ty's think that, oh, the broad sweeping acceptance fix these things. Has it ever seen evidence that it works to say, oh well, now you're a citizen? Because people are still just going to treat you like shit if you're not part of their in group sometimes. I don't know if it changes the frequency.
I think it can. I do think that there is force of law that comes into play here that actually changes the culture over time, and sometimes fairly quickly. We still have racism in the United States, but after the civil rights passed, and then there was all that smackdown from the civil rights about businesses not catering to black people, you saw racism ebb a little bit. I'm not going to say it ebbed all the way, but it did have an impact. So if the French did adopt a birthright citizenship, a de jure, not de jure, whatever the fuck, de soil, birthright citizenship, that might help to a degree. But what we see from actual practices is that exposure is the best best medicine to racism, because you end up actually experiencing how other people act, and they're like, oh, these people aren't actually all that different from me. So that's really where it actually comes down to.
Well, you're talking about the enculturation route. Technically, what you proposed, Haas, it could work. But what I will disagree with Cypher's minor point on is that change doesn't happen rapidly, at least not if it's stable. Stable change takes 1 to 3 generations to complete. It's just that simple. This is true regardless of what country you're looking at throughout history, what governmental system they are functioning under, be it monarchy, be it fucking dictatorship. 1 to 3, or else you're creating unstable change that has the potential to yo-yo.
That is a good point, the potential to yo-yo. I wonder how other people would like to interject to the initial question, though. If people are still interested. If not, move on.
Oh yeah, well, I would actually like to hear Tiberius truly step in on this one, because
Said
Ty,
other people, dog.
No, but I'm asking Ty because Ty, you were starting to bring up a point that about the fact that while we are one of the few, we also like extend this to territories, etc. Like at least it seemed to be where you were leading with it.
I don't remember at this point.
Okay, my bad.
No, that's fine. It's just we were talking about like birthright citizenship, and like as far as actually being born within the confines of your territory, we're one of the few that really do that. In the way we do it, like we are so unique in it, like we literally are a one-off. There's a few countries that kind of come close from what I understand, but it's like a handful. Most of them are you get your citizenship from your parents. So, if you have one of your parents that have the citizenship, you can, I can't remember, some places make it where you apply, some places just give it to you so you can have dual citizenship like immediately. It's just complicated as hell.
Wait, Ty, isn't that what we do? Can't you have dual?
No.
Yeah, you have.
No. You are a citizen if you are born on United States soil. You're a citizen, not because your parents were American. It was because you were born on a military installation that is American.
Which is.
But I have dual citizenship.
That's
But I have dual
true.
citizenship.
But that is because of the laws of Japan, not because of the laws of America.
Ah, okay.
Wait,
just clarify.
wait, hold on. Correctly, Jack. That's because of the laws of Japan. It's still the U.S. military base. It's still therefore considered U.S. soil. So even if Japan considered it differently, to be very clear with you, I think that Japan could say he's also a citizen of Japan, but the U.S. would still say he's a citizen.
That's exactly what we're saying.
That's what I'm saying. The laws of Japan.
We all agree.
Gives him the secondary.
That's what dual citizenship.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what dual citizenship is. But as soon as I signed up for selective services, that all goes out the window.
US citizenship. Okay, I got you.
Just like because of where I was born, I technically have dual citizenship in Germany, born on a U.S. base, etc. So.
Ted Cruz
and I don't know who was asking. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Ted Cruz had dual citizenship until he gave it up.
It's true. I just want to put a point of clarity, just so the audience doesn't necessarily.
You should have went the other way.
But the only thing that needs to be stated is that we actually have both. So you inherit it from your mom. You can inherit citizenship from your mother, not your father, in the U.S. And you also can get it from being born on U.S.
Oh,
soil.
we're matrilinear here.
And then there's a lot of European.
Because it's provable.
No,
Yes.
you can get it from both mother or father.
Yeah, I don't know about that's true.
It might have been
And that's
might have
provable
been
now through
changed.
DNA.
It might have been changed, but
lot,
originally the Supreme Court ruled that somebody did not get citizenship from their father because of the inability to actually prove it at some point.
That was
it might have changed,
before
but
DNA
that was the thing.
analysis, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I wanted to point out.
wait a minute.
I wanted to point out.
This could be one of those laws where we just haven't changed it. That's interesting. I'm going to look into that. That's why.
Yeah,
I
it's
wanna
like
point
you
out-
you can't sleep under a sidewalk in Miami because they used to be made of wood. You can't tie up
Yeah,
a
yeah.
horse outside of the fucking
Okay.
gas station.
Yeah, obscure laws. What were you saying, Rich?
I just wanted to point out that one of the things that's different, because the couple of times people have opined as to whether or not this is significantly different than America. One thing that is significantly different than America is that under the Avion Accords, the Algerians did gain things like freedom of movement and access to sort of like technological innovations and things like that, but they did not get French citizenship, and they did not get even like equal political rights. So they can come and go between Algeria and France as much as they want. They can establish enclaves as a result, but the government like continually otherizes them, and they don't otherize them in the way that a non-citizen in America is otherized, although that can be a problem too. But at least in America, because of birthright citizenship, that would last only one generation. Here you have inherited disenfranchisement in France. So you could have been in France for 3-4 generations and still not have citizenship and still not have equal political rights or any of that stuff because of the Avion Accords. So yeah, they have freedom of movement, which is more than a lot of like other countries would have, and they get to be in the EU and have jobs and stuff. So there is something to that. But they are definitely like a second class of citizens. I don't know if I would call that apartheid necessarily, but it is something that they're very conscious of growing up.
If I could just quickly ask Ical Rich here, how do you think that you talk about inherited franchisement? How do you think that relates to? I'm going to ask about American slavery, like the
Okay, you're starting to fade out.
What do you think?
Sorry, your volume started to fade out, so I didn't get the whole. I would say that.
Is this better?
Yeah, you actually
Yeah,
sound
yeah.
better when you lean back.
Well,
a bit.
then, well, I didn't lean back. I did lean back a little bit, but I removed my arm from my face. Realistically,
Okay.
what I'm asking is, what is the difference? Not differences and similarities between inherited disenfranchisement in the French system that you're talking about versus
Right.
inherited disenfranchisement because of slavery, Jim Crow, etc. in the United States.
Yeah, I think they're different. I think it certainly can be worthwhile to compare them, though, because you do have like this is something that that John Stewart coined as the incumbency advantage, which is to say that if you're in a generation that has something in education, we call it the Matthew principle, which comes from the book of Matthew, saying that to those who have much more will be given. To those who have little, everything will be taken away. So it is true that that you inherit advantages and disadvantages, like in many different senses, and certainly that's true of Black Americans going from slavery through Jim Crow and moving forward in a whole variety of ways. What makes this different in France is that you are inheriting legal disenfranchisement. That is to say, you don't get to be a citizen, even though your family might go back 4 generations in France. You don't get certain other rights that only French citizens have. And so that's something that's different from America too, that at least in legal terms, we don't. Our government tries not to differentiate between white and Black Americans. Now there are plenty of other ways in which, like those privilege and disadvantages like get inherited and need to be addressed. But this is like something that's on top of that. And I think that that might have something to do with why Muslims in the United States act very differently than Muslims in France. Muslims in the United States, I worked at a school for 5 years that was right next door to the largest mosque in the Southwest. About 20% of my students were Muslim, and they were almost all progressive. My
personal opinion on that, Rich, is because we've had so large of a Muslim population in the United States for so long, they are joining established conclaves. They are joining people who have already enculturated in the United States, and therefore it is a far more rapid enculturation than other population.
Wait. You're
Partly
saying
true, depending on where that we're talking about. Though.
I mean,
There's a
Muslims
difference.
have never been like a major like segment.
No, but
of
they've
society
always
in the
had
United States.
they've always had major enclaves since the 1890s.
Yeah, maybe so. But the enclave that I was living in, these were, I guess you could say, fresh off the boat people
Okay, cool.
that had established themselves. Like we had almost no Muslim population in that area until a generation ago, or maybe at this point closer to 2 generations ago. I think what it came down to, I think a lot of it was cultural. I just think that the Islamophobia from the right made a lot of Muslims like move to the left. I think it came as simple as that. But in France, it's not a partisan thing, right? In France, it's not the left hating them made them go to the right, or vice versa. They're not rejecting a party; they're rejecting a nation, a national culture, and it's because that culture did not accept them, so they do not accept the culture. Like that's this whole melting pot idea that we have in America is not what they have in France.
Yeah, it doesn't
sort of
necessarily
how
work the
Black
same
Americans
way.
are in some
But I
way.
would like to.
Everybody wants a piece of this.
Sorry if I'm steamrolling, but I would like to ask if there is some absurdity to it, if there is some difference. No, if there is some difference between what the American idea of a melting pot is and then every other country, France, Sweden is a good example of what the melting pot. But realistically, there is a. I'm still not sure there's a difference on the immigrants' part.
Your volume's happening again.
It's my arm. It's when I put my arm in front of my face. That's all it is.
Okay.
Jesus Christ, I gotta stop that. I gotta be more left-handed or whatever. Thank you for telling me. What I'm asking here is there might be a difference in like cultural acceptance between people who are native to their country, native born, whatever you want to say. The melting pot idea versus, and then I gave Sweden as an example. Sorry, I'm summarizing now. Like Sweden probably really wants that melting pot. It seems like there's a little bit of pushback now, but what I think can never really change is, hey, I'm from X country that is not these countries. I move there. Why are you moving there if you're not trying to? I don't even think I need to finish that sentence.
Well, yeah, you're trying to do the assimilation argumentation. Roosevelt.
Yes, I am. I am talking about assimilation. I am absolutely talking about assimilation. I'm not trying to duck from that. I am.
No. I know. I was just bringing the word out so it was more concise.
It's not inherent on the country to accept. Isn't it inherent on the mover, the person who moves to that country, to
depends on the
try to assimilate on some level?
Depends on the country.
I would say it depends on how much.
So many things.
I wouldn't say it depends on the country. I would say it depends on why you're immigrating. If you're a refugee, I'm gonna fucking just that's fine. I get it. You're going through some shit. But you said, you know what? I have options. I'm Nigerian. I have money. I decide I'm gonna move to where I think I'm gonna make money, where I think I'm gonna have prosperous children. Now it's the U.S., Canada, the U.K. I think now when you're talking about that, it becomes very clear to say, there should probably be some assimilation involved.
I would say it depends on both. parties. And the reason I say it depends on both parties is because if you move to a country or an area that's not going to be accepting of you, no matter what type of assimilation you're going to attempt to do, it's not going to work. So then only for your own protection against oppression that you're going to experience from that lack of acceptance, you're going to create a defense mechanism, which is a ghettoization, an ethnic enclave, whatever it is that you want to call it. And that's where your defense is going to be. You're going to have defense in numbers. You're going to defense for your people, and you're not going to assimilate. Now, on the flip side of that, though, if you are moving to, it doesn't matter if you're moving. On the flip side of that, though, there has to be like give and take on where we're going to be for cultural values. So if a person, that's why I said it depends, because if you are immigrating to a country, how much assimilation do you have to do in order to actually assimilate to that country? And to me, it has to be, you have to have certain core values align, and then you're golden. Learn to speak the language so you can, actually operate within the country. Not a U.S. requirement by law or anything, mind you, but it's just a smart thing to do. But other things like your religion, nobody should care. Your certain cultural practices, as long as they don't violate the rights of others, no one should care, right? These are things that people shouldn't care about, but they do, and that's where the rub for me comes in.
Yeah,
Can I
some of
just
that
add
rub,
quickly on the example of the Nigerian with
I'll let
money?
whoever else get it.
I would argue that if you have money, then you have assimilated. At least in America, like that is our culture.
Okay, so I kind of want to steer it back to whether or not the police are overreacting, or are they justified in the way they are viewing what is going on. Should people be rioting at the level that they're rioting to get that sort of reaction?
Okay, first of all, the way you started that question was, are the police doing this rationally, essentially?
Yes.
No, they're not. They got caught in a lie, a proven lie that we now have video on. Because, so on and so forth. That they then, when they got caught in the lie, issued a press release that even makes our police look tame in the wording. That is a drastic overreaction to civil unrest in your country, legitimate protesting and whatnot going on in your country, to then flip out and have the police on such a high rationale outside of the area where the protests are happening, that they are gonna shoot a kid who, don't get me wrong, being an asshole, driving recklessly, doing all the dumb shit. Not sitting here saying he didn't do anything wrong, but he didn't try to run over a cop. And that's what they said he tried to do.
That's true.
All right, Chip.
I'm not going to monopolize my time. I would hope that people would extend me after. But what I would say is, sorry, no, I'm just going to ask a cunning ass question. Is Jack is he a producer or is he a panel member? I'm just trying to get clarification.
I do both when we're low. We had somebody pull out last minute, so.
Okay,
I was come in late, yeah.
Okay, well, I was just asking for clarification. If I got clarification, then I guess that's worth it. Thanks for answering. We're talking about this. I don't like. Yeah, it's a little bit wild to say that like the kid tried to like run over the cops or something like that. But what I don't like is sort of, and I know you're probably mostly on my side in these things. We probably mostly agree, but or at least in this specific case. But it's a little bit wild to talk about like, oh, this kid's being reckless. He's doing these things. He's done this crime, that crime, whatever. If you're saying like there's a reasonable thing, there's a reason that the police are pursuing him. I've yet to hear what specifically this kid did before the cops got into it. And at that point, they're saying, "Oh, well, he's recklessly running red lights. He's recklessly like
he had almost hit a cyclist and a pedestrian in the process of running one of those red lights,
driving underage.
And he
no, but they don't know he's under. I want to be very
so that's why I didn't mention the age. That's why I didn't mention the age when I said anything. He was driving recklessly. Yes, he did endanger people.
Am I misinformed here? Maybe I'm misinformed.
No, he was doing.
Is it the case that he was breaking these traffic laws before police took any notice or gave chase? Is that the case or no?
At least based on everything I've read, yes. He
Okay,
was doing
well,
dumb shit, and then the police
know,
started following him, and then he
I
did
would
more
say,
dumb shit, and the
I
police
don't
started
believe
following
that,
him more
but I'd
intently.
have to get into conspiracies to defend it. So okay, I guess I would ask because at least I've talked about this in multiple contexts at this point. I don't think that you could ever justify saying, oh well, this person's a threat to others if the reason they started breaking traffic laws was because the police tried to pull them over for a minor traffic infraction. But if that's not what's happening here, we don't have to talk about it now.
Wait, I don't understand that. Wait, I don't. Can you clarify that for me? So, are you saying like if somebody's doing something, let's say they have a broken rear light, the police start to pull them over, but then they decide to run. You saying that that's okay for them? What are you saying there? I'm not clear.
It's kind of funny because I could get into like reasonability standards. I almost wonder
Oh no,
because
back there. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You could just let me hit the meme for just a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
We could all hit the Benjamin together, Lincoln together, and it would be beautiful. But you don't want to do that. So realistically, so obviously sometimes the police pull people over because they're doing reckless driving or something. But now you're talking about a taillight being out. So is it the case that somebody is going to flee from the police because they're not doing anything wrong and they start trying to pull them over? Well, probably not, right? It seems unreasonable. But then you have to wonder, what is a reasonable standard? How do you fulfill that reasonability standard? If you are seeing on the news every day, if you've been told by everybody that you've met, all your family members, all the people that you trust, your OGs, whatever you're talking about, if these people all fucking say, hey, those cops, you gotta fucking steer clear of those cops. At that point, maybe you're fleeing, and I want to draw it really specifically to what happened with this kid. And I don't think this is exactly what was going through the kid's head, but realistically, I want to ask: is it reasonable that you think, as a 17-year-old, somebody can pull you over, even if they are a police officer, put a gun to your head and say, "Hey, you will comply or we'll pull the trigger"? I think I might just be fucking terrified and flee. And if we're going to talk about terrified for this person. Okay. No, you don't think that's reasonable. If you don't,
no, I don't think that's reasonable. I think that's unreasonable as fuck.
No, hold on. I'll finish right quick and then I'll let you go.
Okay, go ahead.
If you don't think that's reasonable, that's fine. But that kind of bleeds back into the first conversation. What is reasonable based on what is portrayed around people, and how are people supposed to arrive at those opinions?
I mean, I get what you're saying. I just don't agree wholeheartedly. Just don't agree. Like, if an authority of the state says, stop, get out of your car, or we're going to do something bad to you, or do bodily harm to you, it's probably reasonable to stop. That's the most reasonable thing, right?
You would hope, but you would also know that that's not always the case.
Yeah,
that's mostly the case.
I want to jump in on you're American brained. I want to jump in on this. Like if you come from North Africa, or hell, if you come from Mexico, you get shaken down by these cartel members who basically are the law in parts of that country. And so what's reasonable is you're getting shaken down all the time, and you're broke, you don't want to die, you just run.
Okay, no, I'd agree with that. I am American brained, and in America, that I believe that to be true. Yes.
So, but I'm trying to tie this back to America, though. If you've been told by the people around you, the people who you consider to be reasonable, taught you to understand what reasonability and rationality are. If those people have told you over and over, these people will fuck you up. Maybe it makes sense to run.
No. Because I have been told that my whole life. No, fuck that. It doesn't make sense to run. What the fuck are you talking about?
Agree with you, but
they have the state law on their side. They have guns on their side. What the fuck are you running for? To get shot or go to jail?
You know what?
You're doing. That's the only two things that are going to happen. You're getting shot or go to jail. That's what's happening.
But I'll go just a little bit more.
Can't hear you. Your mic is.
It's my arm. It's my arm. When I put my arm in front of my mic, fuck.
Okay, so we'll just start saying your arm instead of your mic.
Yeah, I appreciate
it's your arm. Your arm is fucked.
My arm no, what I'm saying is, no, I'm too preoccupied. Can somebody Amazon wish list a fucking sock and just send it for my arm. Go ahead, Joel.
I don't know. Again, this is why I was hesitant to comment on the French, whatever's happening in France. I saw the video, and I heard what happened beforehand. I don't know France law, but it seems like they're justified in this particular thing. But who knows what the other context is? So I don't really have a strong opinion on this shit.
Oh, I was literally just gonna shitpost and say that French people can't be expected to be reasonable. So like you're just being ableist if they like don't comply with cops. You gotta give them more of an
Also
accurate. Look how many times they riot.
Also true.
True. Who would burn their own city down? It happens in the United States, right? But not every other week. What are you doing?
Just every other year. We got it.
All right, I'm
Yeah.
glad we got to the bottom of this.
This one's not too spicy. ACAP.
If only Macron would listen to us.
Everything.
If everybody was America, everybody would be great, right?
Okay, should we ask about the political implications of this? Like, what does this do for, like, Macron's already hated, right? He's in the country. I don't even think he was kind of hated when he won his last election, actually.
Yeah.
Does this help Le Pen? Does it help other far right parties? Like,
it will help Le Pen, sadly, but how much? I don't know.
Well, I mean, elections are pretty far away, so maybe that's what they're counting on.
Well, I think it might help the Socialist Party more than Le Pen, to be honest. Because
well, see, so the thing is that I think Le Pen has more support.
Like Mélenchon, you think Mélenchon's like got a shot?
No, I don't know about the particular person, but I'm talking about culturally speaking.
I don't think Mélenchon does have a chance.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is you've got fracturing. Right now we have coalition. We're always coalition building. Even in the United States, even though we only have two parties, we're always coalition building. What happens when you fracture the coalition? What happens when something that unpopular? I think the biggest split's going to go to Le Pen. That's really distasteful.
You think
but
so?
It's reality. I think so. Well, I don't have proof on this, and I'm super not French, and you probably have a better finger on the pulse, basically. So
I just think that the Republican front is more amicable to not necessarily the Socialist Party itself, but elements within it than it is to necessarily Le Pen. Just based on how they voted last time. It was pretty close, but it wasn't like super close, and I just think it will break more towards the left than it will the right.
So just really quickly, if we Macron and Le Pen, and then Jesus fuck, you said the name, and I was like, I know who that is, and I do. I've read things about, but I don't fucking remember this person's name. So the thing is, like, how far ahead were Macron and Le Pen versus any opposition? So any fragmentation. Oh well, shit! Somebody fucking let Seattle soy out. Please.
No.
Please
No,
I need you to soy out.
I was indicating your arm. I'm not raising my hand. Your arm needs to move.
Holy fucking shit, bro! I'm gonna fucking tie this shit behind me when I fucking talk on stream.
And then you literally will be debating with one arm behind your back.
There you go.
Being a pussy on this panel, I can't manage left-handed. Let's be real.
Good stuff. So we're pretty much all in agreement that the cops are out of pocket for the most part, and everyone's saying the riots are entirely justified. And
riots are justified.
Exactly. That's what happened.
God isn't
Riots
real.
are the logical
Yeah,
conclusion.
True.
Rewriting of history in real time. I like it.
History never dies. It's never the end of history.
So I guess we're going to go ahead and get ready for open then at that point, since we are in such high spirits and in agreement with one another. So if anybody would like an outro, go ahead.
Outro. So I'm going to jump on it. I'm Soyatl. That's Seattle. Take out the Seattle and the soy, and I broadcast every Wednesday and Sunday. So I love to talk about nuclear energy. If you want to talk about nuclear energy, I'm going to stick around for the open panel just a little bit, maybe walk away and come back, talk about nuclear.
Okay,
Awesome.
and before anybody else does their outro, Evan, if you were listening, my friend, chill out, go take a Benadryl, We'll bring you in 15 minutes when it kicks in, and you're no longer fucking at like turn to 11.
Call him retarded, Jack. Get his ass. Call him retarded. Get his ass. Get his ass.
I do that all the time. It's Evan. He knows this.
Always like a Spinal Tap amp right now.
Yeah. Energized
No, I know.
Bunny
I know.
got fed meth.
I'm just channeling my Paul Simp energy right now.
That is the best energy ever. So thank all
don't
you
get me wrong, I
wonderful
love Evan, but man.
Let it fly. Let it fly, Lethy. Don't even just let it fly.
Oh, well, let's go ahead and unleash the beast then.
Are we all jumping to open, or are we just continuing to talk?
We'll stay
and let
here.
other people?
We're going to
Okay.
still talking.
If we're in open and we can do anything we want, I know I already asked Soyaddle about this last time, but a couple of things have transpired since then, and it looks like President Xi has personally spoken to Putin over the Zaporizhia thing and basically said they won't buy energy exports if he does this. What do you think of that development?
No, that's appropriate because literally sabotaging this is more or less Article 5. But not only that, Xi has a big impetus to export their nuclear technology, and they don't want people fucking going crazy about this stuff. So it makes sense. It's a geopolitics like slick move.
Right. Yeah, man, I hope it works.
Yeah.
I mean, supposedly, if it was going to happen, it was going to happen tonight, and it hasn't happened. So, fingers crossed.
What was going to happen?
Okay, so Russian state TV plus a bunch of well-known to be accurate Russian Telegram channels were all saying the same thing about the exact date and time that it would happen. Of course, they were saying the Ukrainians were going to do it.
They're going to mine the plane. They're going to blow it up.
Well, they were saying that Ukrainians were going to shoot a missile at the plant, but also satellite images show that the cooling towers have been mined. So we know that that's the case, and we know there's a bunch of other stuff. But the Russians and the Ukrainian intelligence and the Russians were both saying the same thing, except they were just each one of them was saying the other side was going to do it. But they were both saying it would happen, and it would happen today, and it hasn't. So that makes me think maybe Xi has some pull.
Good outcome.
All right. So Evan, you had a point of contention.
I did.
Something in your mind.
So Osiris made a very good point about the whole we didn't know what transpired beforehand, and I've watched the video multiple times, and the dude almost did run over the fucking cop, and I would have probably pulled the trigger as well. From
the side?
No. Yeah.
Do the tires move left to right instead of front to back?
It don't fucking matter. You hit the target when you aim.
No, that's not what he's saying.
If you're gonna shoot, you're gonna shoot.
Was the car gonna roll sideways?
Take a step backward or take somebody's life. You're picking take somebody's life? That's pretty fucking weird, dude.
Wait. Hold on. Let me be more clear. So the information that we have so far is that this kid and whoever was in this passenger seat had already fled once, and in their opinion, endangered the public. So when he drove off again, their idea, according to them, this is their statement, is that he was endangering the public once again, and according to their law, they're able to do what they did.
And that's the statement after the video came out where they originally claimed that they tried to run over the officer.
I'm not saying it's just. I'm just saying what they said.
Anyway,
which is where Rich is coming into play with this and asking, can the car move sideways? So
let's talk about the riots. My point in contingency of why the riots are fucking retarded. These are not riots of the people who are outraged, or just the people who are outraged about the thing. There are riots of other groups of people who are causing terror and outrage and literally rioting just because.
People who just want a flat screen,
Yeah,
I mean, that happens every time. What's the point?
We have that here when the Lakers win. We have that here when the Lakers lose. This is France. If you're surprised by riots happening in France, you obviously don't know shit about world history.
Shut the fuck up. Jesus Christ.
You should probably talk to your doctor and see if medically assisted deletion is right for you.
Anyways, the fact is that they're becoming more and more violent with gunfire. That is my issue, that they're getting guns involved and that they're shooting at the police and also endangering other people. Do you not see the issue with that?
Hold on. I would like to respond to this stupid comment. So, are you anti-gun?
No, but I do think if you're shooting at fucking random civilians, you might...
I'm going to finish my point. I have another point. Okay, so when like Americans, we love our Second Amendment, and we love it for one big thing, right? To fight against what?
Tyrannical
the government.
tyranny.
Okay, now do you know what France deems a tyrannical government?
Literally everything.
Okay,
dumbass.
so then by American metrics, what France is doing, you're in line
You're
with.
fucking retarded, though.
No, so then if
France is watering the tree of liberty.
If France is retarded for fighting against
the
a tyrannical
tyrannies and
government,
the innocents.
if France is retarded for fighting a tyrannical government with firearms, then you're okay with repealing the Second Amendment because you don't care about doing that either.
No, Samantha. The contingency is that these aren't French people who are using these guns. My second.
What are they? Hold on.
People from North Africa.
Here we go.
No.
Okay.
No, the vast majority of the people rioting are
French.
people are French because
They're
they
just the
inherited
other
French
French.
citizenship.
Yeah,
other
we can mute Evan.
They're
for
the
a
type
little
of French
while.
you
Now,
don't
need
like.
to listen for a little while because you're just woefully misinformed and saying dumb shit. Say that level of dumb shit again, and you will go back into the open panel for 15 minutes for timeout, like a good little kid.
Jack, can I handle him the next time he does this? I want to have fun.
Let's have some fun.
Shit.
You smell like burning. So your contention is that, like, basically you just want to say these aren't French people rioting. Just go out and say it. Say it's black people. Just go ahead and
more
say
than
that.
just them.
Okay, so here's the deal.
It's also brown people.
So,
I will mute you so that I can speak. I don't know if you know this, but over there in Europe, they're connected to Africa via a land bridge, and they all kind of commingle and like cohabitate, and they have very high levels of integration where these people are French. So like you sitting here, like they're not French, they're North African, they're French citizens. Get fucked.
Okay, well, here's my point of contention. How come Spanish people, illegal immigrants, can integrate far better in society with America than Africans and
there
France?
it is.
Whoa, buddy, hold on.
This is stupid. This is a question.
That's retarded.
Does that call for a timeout?
Question based on a stupid fucking premise.
Can I answer this?
That calls
Thank
for,
you.
I'm going to answer it because it's worth addressing.
We'll bring him back in a minute.
Let's
so I don't have to fucking scream. He needed to go away for a minute.
Okay, let's cipher answer because it needs to be answered. It needs to be answered.
Timeout.
The issue is that the way the United States and the rest of the world practices integration is vastly different. It is vastly different. Yes. The rest of the world still operates based on a nationalistic framework, and that nationalistic framework is, generally speaking, ethnic based. The United States does not practice it that way. The United States practices it differently. That is why the United States has better integration, generally speaking, than the rest of the world. The rest of the world literally has things where they go through. Okay, for example, not until it was like 2006 or 7 did Turkish immigrants into Germany were be able to grant citizenship, even if they were third generation Turkish immigrants, because they did not integrate
this
them
is what's
at all.
all good shit. Here's the thing. So in most of Europe, you can immigrate there, and like France specifically, I'll speak on France, is you can go in there, and it's a very easy process to just become a French citizen. So like what Americans love to do is like, when it comes to like black people in America, they're like, oh, why do you call yourselves African American? You're not black, you're just American. So all like the right wingers that love to say that, this is what France does. And now they're coping, seething, dilating, and, you know, doing things where they should end up finding the nearest bridge to their house and seeing how long it takes to get to the road below it.
Damn.
Any point of contention with what I said? Anybody on the panel?
No,
Jack
zero.
is not here.
I think I probably have contention, but I kind of started to tune out. But
I mean, I would point people to the idea because I don't. Real quick.
Hold on, Osiris. For those in the audience who may not know, and the couple of people on the panel who may not know, Sam actually lives in France part of the year. and runs
based.
bakeries in France. Like, yeah, so she actually has like on the ground knowledge about this information. So.
True, and I would like, and I was also like to point people to the idea that there's a very big difference between race and ethnicity. Like we in America, if you only lived in America, race is the thing for you, but you don't understand what ethnicity means. When you look the same as somebody else, your ethnic differences are very fucking different. And a lot of people just don't understand that, and it is what it is.
Okay, Grandpa. So, like in Europe, they really don't care about race; they care about ethnicity. And on top
I just
of
literally
that,
said
like,
that.
That's what he said.
Grandma. On top of that, to shorten it, when it comes to France, they could give less of a fuck if you're black. Yeah, they don't care if you're black. They don't care if you're brown. They don't care. This is not shit they care about. They're gonna hate you if you're Algerian. Okay, it's gonna be very specific. They're like, oh my god.
Well, they're gonna hate you if you're the next town over.
Yeah, but like their favorite person, like on a whole, if you were to vote, like who's your favorite person, every white person, black person, brown person in France is gonna say Mbappe. Just hands down.
No, she's not wrong. But here's where I will make a slight delineation. They hate not just Algerians. They hate people from Suriname. They hate people from Ghana. They hate people from everywhere that's not mainland France. And even though they're French citizens, they don't consider you French.
What the? You are retarded. This is like a very like fucking Paris mindset. You're retarded.
No,
that's where the riots are happening.
I've seen this from people in Paris. Yeah. I have seen this from people in fucking Bordeaux and Brittany when I was there. So it's not just an isolated.
You got to remember where's Mbappe from? Where's Mbappe's parents from?
That part I don't remember.
Ghana. They don't care if you're from Ghana. Like this isn't the thing, right? Like I said, they hate ethnicities, right? They're most likely the most hated group in Europe is just gonna be some vague form of Arabic. Like, are you Arab looking? That's who they're gonna hate. And it has nothing to do with your race. It has to do with
that racializing it though?
No, they're xenophobic, not racist.
I don't know.
They don't like the religion, sweetheart. You can keep
up. Well, no. I mean, actually,
I have
to back her up on this because France actually passed laws about minarets and spires being placed on buildings because they were worried about the architect. Yeah, so I mean, like, it has a little bit of weight to this. I didn't view it like that because they seemed to target anybody, whether they were Muslim or not, if they were from the foreign territories.
Yeah, they don't care if you're from Morocco and black or if you're from Syria and brown. All they care about, like, are you like an extremist Islamist? That's what they care about. And then they're gonna hate you for it.
Yeah, they do have a very big issue with religious displays in public.
It's not race based; it is religious based.
Yeah, but when I say racial, never mind. I'm not going to bother arguing.
I'm using Arabic loosely for the people on this panel that might not know differences very as much as we would. Arabic is really easy for people to go, oh yeah, Islam.
People from the Arabic Peninsula, roughly. Yeah, we get it.
Trevor Noah made an observation about France, though, that if you're North African, like French citizen or whatever, but you do something great, then you're considered French. But if you have that same identity and you do something horrible, well, then you're Algerian. You're not. They don't prefer to use.
Now here's no. This is a Sam question because she's really the only one here.
That's more of a Paris thing again. I kind of they find it more positive utility when these people come over, like, you're French now, to get them to integrate better and adopt French lifestyle rather than just keep their own. So it works better for them to be like, you're French, and like ingrain that into their brain. When people fuck up, they're all Algerian. That's not because people are going to call them Algerian. That's because they're from Algeria.
But what I was going to ask was, do they apply the same metric in reverse towards white French nationals that do horribly fucked up crimes? Do they suddenly go,
French, they're gonna call them like dirty Swedes or something.
Okay, yeah. So they apply it equally. It's equal hatred. Yeah. I can at least semi-understand that.
It has nothing to do with white, because they're going to sit there and mock Americans.
Man, Jack, I've got to turn you down now.
If you ever want to face discrimination, if you want to face discrimination in France as a white person, be from Canada.
Ooh, good stuff.
They will shit on you.
Quebecois. So
is that better, Jack?
Here's what I would ask.
No, it was literally you're just yelling so loud that it broke my ears.
Is the propaganda partially to
it wasn't the microphone
for situations like this.
Propaganda of
You
what?
might have leaned really close to the mic when you did that. I don't know.
So if there are Muslim people or other people that are brown skinned that do something wrong, are those particular instances, if they're prevalent or not prevalent, still used as propaganda in media?
It's not so much the propaganda so much as it is like people driving trucks into buildings and stabbing people on bridges and committing acts of violence in France that they have a hatred for like religious extremism.
Lethe, there is quite a bit more like surface level violence over there than what we deal with on this particular facet. Like honestly, like it's very different. The best thing I could compare it to is what was going on back in Detroit in the 80s, where we were literally having the same kind of shit where they were driving cars into buildings and shit like that.
Well, I mean, even last week there was a video of a guy trying to kidnap a girl out of her doorway in front of her mother in France. Like this type of stuff isn't like propaganda. The video is spread, but like this is actions you can see by a group of people being committed, and that's what tends to fuel the fire. Is those will spread, and I guess I wouldn't call that propaganda. I mean, it can be twisted. Like, look at these, like because it was a French citizen, but they're gonna be like, look at this. Somebody's gonna label it some refugee. And then that's going to spread, and then that could be used as propaganda. But majority, you can see actions of these people being committed, and that tends to be what fuels the fire.
Which is why I said racialized is a thing. Yeah.
A refugee is not racialized, sweetheart.
No, but if you have these instances and the ones that they're focusing on are people that are not white, then it's going to get racialized by the propaganda machines because they're going to point to these people and say they're all the same. And that is partly what is going on. And you can correct me if you think I'm wrong, but
I do think you're wrong because they've done the same thing with people that were white perceived, but it happened to be like people that were from like Ukraine, and they wanted them gone. Like they're pretty fair across the board. They just don't like foreigners. They don't care what race they are. Just don't be stupid and foreign. Like I've had to question things I've seen in the media from France, and then ask my partner who has a better grasp, or will like talk to mom and dad back home. She's like, yeah, it has nothing to do with like race. It's like that they're Muslim people or they're this. It's not like they're black or white. It just tends to be like these people are doing certain things in France, and so French people are like fuck you guys. Right, refugees are there from like Syria, from North Africa, and from Ukraine, and from places in Eastern Europe as well. And they're pretty fair, like fuck all of you if you fuck up.
But question. Never mind, I don't want to argue about it anymore.
Question, Samantha. All right, so you have a lot of the knowledge about France and all the political.
Yes, and you seem to have zero knowledge about it, but okay.
Anyways, instead of throwing insults, I would ask, so what would be the appropriate current response that the police should do or the government should do in this situation?
Well, I've had to have this talk with a bunch of people. A lot of people that happen to be on these panels talking about the situation are coming at it from like an American law enforcement viewpoint, where like over there, the standards that the French police have and like that the people can hold them accountable for, and like how they're supposed to interact are vastly different than here. So like they're going to be under more scrutiny, and fairly so. So like, was the cop justified in America? Maybe. Over in France, definitely not.
Okay.
They have a different standard of policing. They have a different set of like.
This is why I didn't want to speak on this.
Yeah, so
I kind of figured that'd be true.
I do think that I was coming from an American brain
they
ideal
favor
standard.
Any interaction with law enforcement or the criminal justice system in France is going to favor the people over the government. Like when they say innocent until proven guilty, like they fucking mean that shit. And you have to have like hard proof, and like your life really has to be in danger for you to like fucking go after a citizen.
Okay.
Wait, so wait, in France, is it typical for police to carry guns or?
No, very few. So you'll have the national police that do. The regular police don't.
And that's typical.
Furthermore, to
much
put
of
this
Europe.
into legal perspective,
Wait.
for him to have been considered in danger of his life, his entire body would have had to have been in front of the front bumper. Not
No,
part
no,
of it.
no.
That was from a French lawyer.
Okay,
I was quoting
okay,
a French lawyer.
Okay,
so.
but like the thing would be like how fast was the car going? So initial speed, right? Like you can get run over and survive, but you're still having an egregious thing. So they would make a determination. Like if you bump somebody with your car, that's not like fear for your life. But like if you fucking hit the gas and went over the person, that could be fear for the life. And the other cop could then take the life.
No.
I'm gonna kick. I'm gonna kick.
No,
I'm gonna kick Haas in a second. I guarantee it. This guy's a fucking moron too.
Hold on.
Him and Evans can go fucking jump.
Hold on, Sam. You before you go on, Haas, I was just quoting a French lawyer who said that's what it would take for him to be considered in danger of his life as a police officer to fire a weapon.
You gotta let Haas defend himself, though.
Go ahead, Haas.
That's fine. I'm just gonna ramp up the at-homes.
Under the French purview,
wait, Haas needs to respond.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Point of personal privilege. Who's streaming the mirth of children in the background? That's not what I signed up. Could you please do something about that? It's very distracting.
Here, I got you. Check this out.
Osiris.
That's not Osiris. You shut the fuck up. What the fuck?
His kids are going crazy again.
That's not my kids. You kids shut the fuck up. I already strangled and put them in the closet.
My son was having fun and laughing in the background, but that guy can go fuck himself.
Yeah,
Yikes.
Well, no, that's just a weird thing. I didn't sign up for the mirth of children in the background. Like, what the fuck is that? Like, I can understand if he had screaming bloody murder.
Okay,
They're happy in the range of a microphone.
Jack, why has the Open already been forced to kick 2 people out? Like one person for saying outrageous shit about the French, and then like another person saying.
He is back. Evan was not kicked out. Evan was timed out. And
I was in timeout.
Yeah.
Listen.
Evan knows when I put him in timeout. That's me saying, Icarus, you're getting too close to the sun.
I got this, Jack. Sprout, do you want some too? I'm about as trigger happy as a white kid in high school. Okay.
Oh my god!
Going for high score.
Jesus Christ!
Sam,
I'm offended. Why would the kids are hollering in the background? It has to be the black guy. Fuck you people, all right? Jesus Christ.
No, but it has nothing to do with the black guy. It has to do with you're the guy with 7 fucking kids.
I don't know.
I have 2 kids who are under 18. Y'all can go fuck yourself.
I didn't know that Samantha had kids. Over. That's why I immediately thought it was Osiris.
Yes.
Kids over.
I did my part in lowering white birth rates. Okay. What's up, Rich?
Nice.
I had a question for somebody because for the longest time I've been trying to figure this out. So the Marseillaise, right? The national anthem of France. One of its part of it says, let's march, that their impure blood should water our fields. So what if they don't have a concept of race in the same way that America does? Because I understand that America like views that word almost uniquely. Like, what do they mean by impure? Like,
it was a different
what's
time.
The impurity? No, I know. I understand.
Literally, they've acknowledged this. Like their national anthem is like shit, but the thing is, like Europe is like tradition.
Right. But does impurity mean ethnicity rather than like from their point of view, like is a Belgian like impure blood because they're not French? Does it work that way, or is
he can become French, right?
It could be impure ideologies.
No.
They're talking about blood that waters the fields. Like that's pretty explicit. Like
Sprout. What the fuck?
You can't water the fields with ideology.
I didn't hear Sprout say that.
He said it in the chat. He said it in the chat.
Okay.
I was about to say, Sam, what
he pulled a me.
Okay, so the ultimate anthem of defiance in shut up, ad. 1792, Claude Joseph Roger, with 5 other names, a captain in the French army, composed a song after Austrian and Prussian troops invaded France in an attempt to quell the revolution. The mayor of Strasbourg asked the guy to write a song that would rally troops to defend their homeland that is under threat, originally titled a bunch of fucking words, War Song for the Army of the Rhine. It was dedicated to Marshal Nicholas Luckner, the army's Bavarian commander. While its lyrics declare that the children of the fatherland's day of glory has arrived, They also issue a blood-curdling warning of ferocious soldiers are coming under the bloody banner of tyranny to cut the throats of your sons, your women. Citizens, not subjects, are urged to take up arms and march. Let's march. Where is the part about the thing?
So this was during the Napoleonic era,
So
right?
the impure blood is Austrian and Prussian blood.
Yeah. So it's white on white violence. Totally okay.
Right.
It's all okay
Most
now.
of it
Under
is.
the bridge.
If French can even be considered white, I mean, come on.
Oh, no. To armed citizens, form your battalions. Let's march. Let an impure blood water our furrows. It's not saying like we're gonna kill the impure bloods.
Wait, what?
Marianne?
I mean, the impure blood of the enemy is going to like water the
second.
furrows. Like, is going to be.
Yeah. So I don't know how to. What would you translate this as? Can you come read? Hold on. I have somebody better versed in France.
Great.
Well, because
Like, I'm not blaming 21st century Frenchmen for like,
Oh yeah.
such an old song. Like,
So these down here.
I put a better song about fighting.
So an impure blood.
right.
Refill or how the streets or the sewage work.
Oh, refill the sewers. Wow. Okay, that's even better.
Yeah,
So kill Prussians and Austrians and let their
Fill the
blood
sewers
fill the
with
sewers.
Germanic blood. Yeah.
Jesus.
Well,
That's pretty nice.
Well, because at this point you're talking about during this time period one of the most modern set of city structures in the Europe. So they actually did have a lot of gutters and sewers along their streets, like instead of open drains and shit.
Yeah.
It was pretty badass.
But you can see
So
that
this is
it's not about
1795.
race. Yeah, it's not about race. It's about other ethnicities coming to fucking slaughter them and their people.
Right. I mean, dehumanization of
horrible.
the enemy is to some extent
That's like the
unavoidable.
entirety of the police union statement was pretty much dehumanizing of the enemy in this case.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
Which is
would
why I
would
said
you
it was
excuse them in that
drastic
same
for-
regard?
No, it's drastic for France.
It's not an excuse.
This is a statement that I would expect in like Tennessee.
So there was
This
one.
is not a statement I would expect coming out of France or the UK.
So you can't read it, Evan, but there was one particular point that was said, and it just basically just read as fascism to me. Where was
No,
it?
I read you read it. Or I
Person.
heard you read it. And it did come off very like
Yeah, very cringe.
very fucking fucked up. cringe.
I don't know
This
if
is the
I'd
one,
say
this
it
is the
was.
one.
I
In
don't
the
know if I'd
face-
say fascist, but definitely authoritarian.
No, this is where I get
Yeah.
fascist. In the
Wait,
face
what-
of
what are
such
we referring to?
actions, this is a statement from one of the police union members.
Yeah, the police union put out a press release that
One
was
of the
wild.
police union
So
groups.
this particular sentence read out fascism to me. In the face of such exactions, the police family must stand together. Was basically what I got, was band together and beat the shit out of these people.
Yeah.
No, that it's not standing together and beat the shit out of the people. I'm going to tell you like two things that are going to happen. One, that cop that did this is never going to be in public again, and if
He's
is,
being
whatever
investigated for manslaughter right now.
whatever happens to him in the public, there will be no retaliation on officially, because like France is so at its tipping point right now, where they are likely to storm the Bastille again.
And this particular rhetoric is very inflammatory to exactly the sentiment you just stated.
Yeah, the
Well,
police
yeah,
union-
they're worried. They're worried of happening there. What happens here when a bunch of people get upset and they start targeting cops while they sit in their cars, and they're being killed execution style. So yeah, band together doesn't necessarily mean band together so we can kill these.
Like
fucking dark
happened during the
people.
BLM riots at one point.
Okay,
I
but
just sent you the full text. by the way.
Okay, but Sam, do you not agree, especially when you get done reading it, do you not agree that this is a bit of a drastic shift for France? I'm not saying You don't understand the fear.
No. I don't. Right. So you got to understand like where this is taking place, like Paris. One, it's mostly not French people. Two, it is a place that is like separate from like the lifestyle of the rest of France. And like this is par for the course for any major police, like be it the Metro or the National Police, the FNP in Paris. This is how they act. This is not something new. You see clips of the police and the FNP acting like this a couple times a year.
Yeah, but wasn't this issued by the people in Marseille?
So they have different regional offices. So when you're saying this is from one of the police unions, right? So there's a police union like office in Saint-Étienne. There's one in Marseille. There's one in Paris. There's one like, but they're not all. It's not like to that region. They can issue statements for whoever or do whatever.
Okay. How many unions are there in the police group? How many? Does anybody know that?
I don't know. It depends on how many regions they have there.
Yeah, this was Western centric reporting, because when they said it came out of Marseille, they made it sound like it was Marseille police issuing the statement in the way that they reported it. So.
This particular statement, hold on, to put clarity on it, because we said it earlier, this particular statement came out of a police union faction, so it's more than one, that represents roughly 50% of the police officers within Paris.
So how likely is it that the other 50% would side with them if
very likely, very likely.
Yeah.
So why? And I guarantee you why it's 50%, because they're speaking on behalf. It's probably every union that's part of either. Okay, when you talk about the police force, like I said, it's split into two, right? You have like what we'd call like the Metro and then the FNP, right? So I guarantee you this is either speaking on behalf of the FNP or speaking on behalf of the MP. And like the other one's gonna follow suit. They work together very tightly.
I mean,
that's what it sounded like to me.
I mean, it doesn't sound unlikely either, considering the way police forces work together throughout the world. So yeah,
I'm gonna actually DM two people that one's in Marseille right now to see what he says.
The vermin rhetoric is where I took most of the issue with, not the necessarily banding together, because that's just how unions operate in general.
Yeah, for me, it was the dehumanization and the fact that they focused on property over people.
And
wow, it's almost like the last time this happened on this large of a scale, these people's heads went tumbling down in front of the Palace of Versailles. Yeah. Almost the same language, word for word.
Well, I mean, this particular statement though is like directed at the police. I mean, directed by the police to the regular people rather than.
No, but what Sam is getting at is that the last time there was a revolution at this size, the higher ups, the more wealthier people were the people who were targeted, who were killed, executed, and all that
shit. Is also, Evan, this is not a revolution. I would say like maybe 25% of the people or less, most likely like 15 to 16%, would probably be revolutionary. The rest of this entire thing is opportunistic people just trying to get in on some shit.
I was
very common. My part. I know Rich and them were here when I was talking about my partner in this. When their parents would go protest, the kids would go like, "Hey, why are you leaving school?" I don't know. Like, what's going on? I don't fucking know. Just we're gonna leave. No school. We're gonna go protest or whatever. Right? They don't know what they're protesting. It's just a very French thing. People are in the streets yelling. You go join them, so you don't have to do whatever you have to do that day. It's very.
I wasn't trying to incline that they would be attacking, the same style that they would be doing the revolution, but more of the opportunistic. I misspoke. Try to make a quick buck, or
is this? Sorry,
at least from what I've seen. Hold on. At least from what I've seen, though, it's not been a lot of looting. It's been a lot of damage, but not a lot of looting.
Okay, real quick, I have confirmation.
I'm just asking, is that incorrect, or are we having that misreported over here, Sam?
Wait, 1 second. I'll have you ask that again, because I just got that statement was given by the Alliance Police Nationale and UNSA. So these are both unions that like the factions or whatever that came together. That's for the French National Police.
Okay.
So I was kind of correct as far as I know on my assumption.
Are the riots here more widespread, as in landmass? than they were for the directed riots for the retirement age?
Oh no, the retirement age ones were massively bigger.
Okay,
that was probably
I meant,
entire.
Sorry.
That was most of the country for the retirement age, and like this one is like you're seeing big concentrations in Paris, Marseille, and oh god, what was the other one?
So orders of magnitude less, basically.
Probably like a third of the size, if that, a quarter to a third.
So there's not really the concern of it tipping to revolution.
No. They'd revolution, like they'd cause a revolution over fucking raising a retirement age more so than a cop shooting somebody.
What makes this so? But is the damage and stuff more here now than it was during the? Okay, so then why are they saying we're at war now rather than when it was before?
Because right now you have, so we're seeing like the stuff that's going on in the streets, right?
Sure.
That's the news that's going around. Look, riots, look, looting, look, police officers making statements. What we're not hearing a lot about is like this is causing a bunch of political parties, like 16 of them, to go up and be like, maybe we need to fucking police reform, even more so. So like this is like
the police feel under siege by politicians.
Because all of the politicians, with the exception of Le Pen and Screwball, the actual like fucking Nazi guy. I forgot his name because he's irrelevant. Other than those two,
kind of what's happening in U.S.
Yeah, every politician on the major leads of all the political parties are kind of going like, we need police reform. So they're feeling attacked from the government. They're feeling attacked from the people. So they're scared.
So we have some dogs of war issue going on right here, creating a solidarity between the police force versus everyone else.
Yeah, so it's like the government and the people versus the police force, which once it hits that level in France and like most of Europe, change gets made because the government doesn't want the people to continue to riot because it'll just ramp up and up and up until things happen. And like the people will just keep rioting. It's France, they'll just shut off the power.
Sam, before we move too far past the point, I'll go right back. You said, is it a misreporting here in the West that it has been mainly damage and minor amounts of looting, or has it been the reverse and more looting than damage?
No, it's more damage than looting, but that's because of like two incidences where people made V-bids.
No, I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't being misreported. Go on.
So my only other follow-up question to that would be then, shit, did I forget it? Hold on, give me 1 second. I can get it. So with the way the police are acting and they're basically finding solidarity with Le Pen and whatever else, whoever the actual out and out Nazi is, do we see this kind of being similar again to what is going on in the U.S. with how the police feel under siege, and so they're that then?
No, because I would give more of a benefit of a doubt to American police being under siege, just because there has been like a lot of people just like shooting cops to shoot cops and like execution style shit. That's not happening in France. So the way they're feeling under attack is that the government, like outside of Le Pen and Nazi bitch, are going after the police for reform. And Le Pen and Nazi bitch don't have a foothold to actually like fight back.
And then I remembered what my question was. So are we saying basically here that it's kind of like release the chains that are held on us so we can fix this situation, similar to how like people that fought in Vietnam thought they could do it, or whether the police thought they could do it?
They're more like the whole band together thing from like what all the stuff that I know and like from talking to like parents and like from talking to friends. And they're more band together because it's about to get really hard on them. Like there's no way to fight this. Like ramping up the violence makes it worse for them. They understand that. Like running around, like they tried in Marseille. Stop talking about I'm talking. There was incidences in Marseille where police were running around and like rubber bullets on people, bean bags and stuff like that, and instantaneously the backlash made that like 1,000 times worse. So it went from like maybe a couple hundred people screaming in the street to now you have thousands pissed off that the police were just running around gunning at people with like fucking less lethal or non-lethal rounds. And then it made it worse. So they have no recourse. There's no fighting back or it's going to get way worse.
Okay. Chip?
Oh, what I mean to say.
Arm.
Oh my God. To fix your mic.
No, it's arm. It's arm. You guys are right. Am I better now?
No.
Oh, Jesus, fuck, it really is arm. Okay. Okay, that's crazy. Because I've never known.
You know, I didn't sign up for this arm in the background. Okay.
Yeah, I got you. You didn't sign up for it.
Turnabout.
Ooh, I can hear you well enough.
No,
Lean back ever so slightly.
I am still at the bottom. Yeah, no, you know what?
What is he on?
I don't know, but that was just rambling fucking nonsense. That wasn't disconnection. That wasn't fucking his roboting from internet. He just started rambling.
No, he was frustrated by not being able to answer ask his question.
That's mostly what it was. He was literally frustrated because he's been having issues with that all night.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. When I came in, this motherfucker was main character syndroming the whole thing. That motherfucker talked more than Fabian.
Yeah, but he was having issues the whole time. Like anytime he would lean forward a little bit, and then he would lean back, and it would get a little better. Yeah. So, yeah, he was doing mostly fine.
Samantha,
I mean, look, he could get that arm detached. It might fix.
He just needs a real mic. He's using his laptop mic. Is what it sounds like.
Is the most of the riots and violence happening in the more city center areas more than, I guess, outer rural? Okay, because I did talk to
my parents when we talked to them the other day. We're like, hey, is everything okay? You going good? They're like, yeah, we're going to our friend's birthday party. We're like, what about the riots? They're like, that's just
I just asked my friend who's an artist. I'm just like, hey, is everything all right over where you're at? He's like, no, I live in a smaller village. I'm just like, oh, okay.
Well, and like we were talking to people like in Lyon. And there was like in Lyon's it's the second biggest city outside of Paris.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's mainly concentrated in specific areas then.
Yeah, where those
like I said,
populations live.
Paris, Marseille, and I don't remember if it was Breton or if it was Nantes, but like it's one of those two.
Okay.
Right. Samantha, thank you for answering my questions. Everybody, I gotta go. So appreciate it.
Cypher, it's been amazing. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Lee. I'll be back whenever you want me.
Cool. Appreciate it.
Have a good night. Oh, I forgot I was still streaming. So let me go ahead and sign off on this. Sorry, y'all. If you're still watching, I'm getting off of here. Thank you all for watching. We had about 10 people or so watching throughout, maybe 15 or so after people came in and out. But if you like what you heard, go ahead and smash that like button for the algorithms. It really does help us out. And we'll be on tomorrow with the news roundup. Night, everybody.